Nepal's foreign minister returning home, concluding a 3-day official visit to India. Visit further strengthens bilateral relations. First General Convention of Nepal's ruling party underway in 28 districts. Provincial convention to be held from June 9. Sugar prices rise despite assurance. Consumers pay more as market rates rise up to 10%. Europe migration debate resurfaces at D-Day event. U.S. defense chief criticizes border policies. North Korea reaffirms nuclear status ahead of high-level summit. Remarks come a day before Xi's planned visit to Pyongyang. And Nepal makes it to Asian Games qualifier final, registers 8-wicket victory over Oman. Good evening, I'm Bijata Bhandari and this is NTV World Primetime News. We're coming to you live from Kathmandu at 1900 hours Nepal time. Elsewhere it is 13:15 in London, 22:15 in Tokyo and just after midnight in Sydney. Now the news in detail. Nepal's Foreign Minister Shishir Khanal has concluded a 3-day official visit to India aimed at strengthening bilateral ties between the two neighbouring countries. During the visit, Minister Khanal held high-level talks with India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, focusing on trade, investment, connectivity, energy cooperation and people-to-people relations. The two sides also discussed resolving long-standing border issues through diplomatic dialogue and mutual cooperation. A key outcome of the visit was the launch of cross-border digital payment connectivity linking India's Unified Payments Interface or UPI and Nepal's National Payments Interface, enabling seamless person-to-person transactions between the two countries. The visit also advanced cooperation in artificial intelligence and language technology, with a new agreement signed to develop a voice-based translation platform through collaboration between Digital India Bhashini and Kathmandu University. Nepal's opposition-oriented Rashtriya Swatantra Party or RSP has conducted district-level conventions in 28 districts as part of preparations for its first national convention. The conventions were held across all 7 provinces, with party leaders emphasizing development, prosperity and good governance as key priorities. Speaking at the convention in Gorkha district, General Secretary Kabindra Burlakoti said the government should work collaboratively with all political parties to advance national development projects. The RSP plans to complete conventions in 67 of Nepal's 77 districts before its national gathering, while the remaining districts will hold conventions later. The party's first national convention is scheduled to take place in Chitwan from June 21st to June 23rd, 2026. The Koshi provincial government in eastern Nepal has begun preparations for its upcoming fiscal year budget, prioritizing key sectors such as health, education, agriculture, tourism and infrastructure development. Officials in Biratnagar said the provincial administration is also considering relief measures for lower middle-class families and landless squatters, following concerns over recent federal tax and fee increases. Provincial Minister for Economic Affairs and Planning, Bidur Kumar Lingthep, stated that the government aims to address public concerns while boosting investment in productive sectors. Economists have suggested that greater emphasis on tourism and employment-generating projects could help strengthen the province's internal revenue base. The provincial budget for the next fiscal year is expected to be around 38 billion rupees, slightly higher than the current allocation due to increased revenue and federal transfers. The government and the private sector assured consumers during the 3rd week of May that there would be no shortage of sugar and that prices would remain stable. However, with no fresh imports following India's restrictions on sugar exports, market prices have increased, forcing consumers to pay more for the commodity. Sabika Shrestha brings more.
In the third week of May, Nepal's government and private sector representatives claimed there was no shortage in the market and that prices would remain stable. However, that assurance proved short-lived. Sugar prices have been found to have risen by as much as 10% during market monitoring. Sugar that was available at 100 rupee per kilogram a few weeks ago is now being sold at 110 rupees per kilogram. Traders who had already raised the retail price to 105 rupees per kilogram before the annual budget speech on May 29 further increased the price to 110 rupees per kilogram after the budget announcement. Likewise, the wholesale price, which was 94 rupees per kilogram before the budget, has increased to 102 rupees per kilogram. Traders say they had to raise retail prices because wholesale prices had already gone up.
94 माइनस 103 गर्दाखेरि त 9 रुपैयाँ त हजुरको यतिकै बढ्या छ त अहिले चिनी 9 रुपैयाँ बढ्दाखेरि 104 गर्दाखेरि त 7 8 10 सम्म पुग्नु भनेको अस्वाभाविक कुरो होइन यो चाहिँ नै चलेको कुरा हो ल 4 103 परेछ भनेदेखि 6 7 सम्म चाहिँ नै हामीले सेल गर्न सक्छौं के तर कुरो के हुन्छ भनेदेखि आम उपभोक्ताहरूलाई 100 मा किनेको चिनी 110 तिर्दाखेरि 10 रुपैयाँ खल्तीबाट रित्यो कि रित्येन उनको तलबाट रित्यो कि रित्येन कम भयो कि भएन हो यो कुरो चाहिँ बुझ्नुपर्ने कसले हो नेपाल सरकारले जुन कि उहाँले ट्याक्स लिनुहुन्छ प्रत्येक जनताबाट चाहिँ ट्याक्स चाहिँ असुली गरेको हुन्छ हामीले भोगेको कुरो पनि हो र दिएको कुरो पनि हो.
Consumers also complained that prices have been increased despite sufficient stock being available in the market. They allege that even old stock is being sold at new price and that ineffective government market monitoring has allowed traders to act arbitrarily.
चिनी सबै थोक महँगो भइरहेछ हामीलाई सबै थोक धान्न अहिले धेरै गाह्रो भइरहेछ अब बढाउँदिन के अरे उ गर्दिन चाहिँ अब नदिने चाहिँ भनेको सुनेको हो हैन तर अब बढाउनु चाहिँ यहीँको सामान पनि यहीँ राखेर पनि अब मान्छेहरूले बढाइराख्नु भएको छ हैन अब त्यो चाहिँ नबढाउनु पर्ने हो अब सरकारले अब जति जे जस्तो गरेर भए पनि उताबाट निकासा गरेर ल्याएर अब हामीलाई यहीँको सामान यहीँको बढाउँदा चाहिँ हामीलाई अलिकति गुनासो लागिरहेको छ
अर्काको भरमा बढ्दैन भनेर बस्न नहुने रहेछ
India imposed a ban on sugar exports from the mid-May until September in order to maintain balance in its domestic market. Since then, no new sugar has been imported from India. Despite sufficient market stocks and domestic production, sugar prices have continued to rise. Local industries produced around 190,000 tons of sugar this year, but consumers are still facing higher prices. The increase has sparked concern among buyers who are urging the authorities to intervene and bring prices under control. Sabika Shrestha with camera person Ram Thapa reporting for NTV World.
Time now for a short break. We shall be back with more updates. Welcome back. You're watching NTV World Primetime News. Now the remaining updates. Nepal marked World Food Safety Day on Saturday, with Health and Food Hygiene Minister Nisha Mehta reaffirming the government's commitment to tackling foodborne diseases, which remain a major public health challenge worldwide. In a message issued for the occasion, Minister Mehta said Nepal is prioritizing the implementation of the Food Hygiene and Quality Act 2081, along with stronger food testing laboratories, risk-based market monitoring, and policy reforms. Minister Mehta emphasized that food safety must be maintained at every stage of the supply chain, from agricultural production and processing to storage and consumption. The observance was held under the theme Food Safety, Science in Action, highlighting the need for producers, businesses, consumers and regulators to work together to ensure safe food. According to the World Health Organization, contaminated food causes illness in around 600 million people and claims 420,000 lives globally each year, with young children bearing a disproportionate share of the burden. Farmers in Nepal's remote Ruby Valley, located in northern Thading district near the border area, are facing heavy losses as thousands of tons of potatoes and other crops remain stranded due to poor road access. Despite strong market demand for their produce, inadequate transportation infrastructure prevents goods from reaching buyers on time. Local residents say a significant share of agricultural products is wasted each year because of high transport costs and logistical challenges. Farmers also report limited support and coordination from local authorities in connecting them with larger markets. The situation highlights the ongoing infrastructure challenges facing many rural farming communities in Nepal, where access to markets remain a major obstacle to agricultural growth. Residents of rural communities in Nepal's Syangja district are facing growing safety concerns as increasing monkey attacks have left 6 people injured within a single week. The incidents reported in several areas of Galyang municipality have affected residents ranging from young children to elderly citizens, forcing villagers to travel and work in groups out of fear. Local farmers say expanding monkey populations combined with rural migration and overgrown vegetation have made it easier for wild animals to enter human settlements and damage the crops. Authorities from the local forest office say they are taking the issue seriously and are exploring legal measures for relief and long-term management of human-wildlife conflict. The situation highlights a broader challenge in Nepal's hill regions, where wildlife encroachment and population decline are increasingly threatening rural livelihoods and agricultural communities. A grassroots campaign to preserve Nepal's traditional Panche Baja folk music ensemble is gaining momentum in Palpa district, driven by the active involvement of local youth. In Mashyam Tangal of Tinau Rural Municipality, young people have formed a community club dedicated to reviving and promoting the centuries-old musical tradition. The initiative aims to protect a key element of Nepal's cultural heritage as concerns grow over the decline of traditional folk practices in the face of modernization. By learning and performing the Panche Baja, the youth are helping pass the tradition on to future generations, while also strengthening community identity. Local residents say the effort has attracted growing interest and is breathing new life into one of Nepal's most recognizable forms of ceremonial music. Time again for a short breather. We will see you back with international updates. U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has criticized European nations over migration for allowing what he described as an invasion on their shores during a D-Day anniversary speech in France. Hegseth was speaking in Normandy 82 years after Allied forces stormed French beaches to liberate Nazi-occupied Europe in 1944.
Sadly, today, different European beaches are stormed by different dangerous ideologies. Beaches in Spain, in Italy, in Greece, and Bulgaria, boats and men arrive. When will European capitals do something about that invasion? Or is it too late? I pray not, and I believe not.
Migration has become a major political issue across Europe, with parties supporting hardline immigration policies surging in polls. Kim Yo-jong, the sister of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, said North Korea will never back down on its status as a nuclear-armed state, warning that it will not tolerate any threats, state media agency KCNA said today. Chinese President Xi Jinping is set to visit North Korea tomorrow for a summit, marking his first visit to the North in nearly 7 years, as Beijing looks to reinforce ties with Pyongyang, China's only formal treaty ally. Kim Yo-jong called claims by the United States that Xi and U.S. President Donald Trump confirmed a goal to denuclearize during a May summit as false, adding that it has the most accurate information regarding the claims. Earlier this week, North Korea unveiled a new nuclear material production factory, where its leader Kim called for an exponential expansion of the country's atomic arsenal. Analysts said the new uranium enrichment site appeared aimed at reinforcing North Korea's negotiating position ahead of the Xi-Kim summit, while justifying an acceleration of its nuclear buildup. Iran's semi-official Fars news agency has rejected a report by Saudi-owned Al Arabian Network that Tehran has agreed to transfer its enriched uranium to a third country. Citing an informed source close to the Iranian negotiating team, Fars said nuclear issues were basically not on the current agenda of the talks between Tehran and Washington aimed at ending the war, and would only be discussed at later stages. The denial follows an earlier report that Iran has informed Pakistan of its acceptance to transfer part of its enriched uranium to a third country. The source stressed that such a transfer is not being discussed, adding that the United States must take clear and definitive actions before final agreements on some fundamental issues can be reached. Voting is underway in Armenia in an election which could decide whether the country continues edging towards the West or returns to its traditional ally, Russia. The small South Caucasus country of 3 million people has been under mounting economic pressure from Moscow as Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan seeks re-election on a promise of European integration. The election has drawn significant international attention to Armenia, which has steadily grown closer to the West while still intertwined with Russia, its largest trading partner. The rapprochement with the West is largely Pashinyan's doing. Since coming to power in 2018, the Prime Minister has steered his country away from Moscow, passed a law to launch the process of joining the EU, and accelerated the peace process with neighboring Azerbaijan via a US-brokered agreement. More than 1.2 million people have gathered in the streets of Madrid for a mass led by Pope Leo XIV in one of the largest public religious events in Spain in recent years. During the ceremony, the Pope called for a renewal of Catholic faith across the country, urging believers to strengthen their spiritual commitment amid modern social change. In his homily, Pope Leo said Spaniards should not view religion as a museum of the past to be visited, but as a school of faith from which to draw even today, emphasizing the continuing relevance of the Church in contemporary life. The large-scale gathering highlighted both the enduring influence of Catholicism in Spain and the Vatican's renewed efforts to engage with younger generations. Let's now take a short break. We will be back with more from International. Police clashed with anti-government protesters in eastern Bolivia during an operation to remove a roadblock in the Santa Cruz region amid escalating nationwide unrest. According to government officials, protesters used firearms during the confrontation, injuring 2 police officers in the exchange. The incident forms part of a broader wave of instability, with authorities reporting nearly 100 roadblocks across the country as Bolivia enters its 2nd consecutive month of political and social unrest. Security forces have intensified efforts to reopen key transport routes, while tensions remain high in several regions affected by the ongoing demonstrations and disruptions. Hundreds of young Chinese students clutching pens on their IDs shuffled into a testing center in blue sky Beijing on Sunday, swarmed by parents, joining millions sitting for the national high-stakes university entrance exam. Around 12.9 million students nationwide registered for this year's Gaokao, according to the Ministry of Education, which for most is the sole determining factor in admission to a Chinese university. The multi-day exam, which began Sunday, drills test takers on subjects including Chinese, mathematics, English, science and the humanities, with the tallied scores to be released later this month. Education authorities are on high alert each year and have sought to crack down on cheating, this year explicitly warning students not to bring smart glasses or smart watches into test sites that are surveilled by video. Security camera footage has captured a bear attack near the main gate of the Fukushima Seiko factory in Japan, where a man in his 20s was targeted in a sudden encounter. Authorities say the incident is part of a wider series of bear-related attacks in northern Fukushima on Tuesday, which left 4 people injured across 2 factories and a nearby residential area. Police and local media reports indicate that the animals have become increasingly active after emerging from hibernation, leading to a rise in sightings and dangerous encounters in populated areas. Officials are warning residents and workers to exercise extreme caution as Japan experiences a seasonal spike in bear activity, raising safety concerns in both industrial and residential zones. Now the sports update. Nepal delivered a dominant all-round performance to defeat Oman by 8 wickets in the first semi-final of the Asian Games men's qualifier, securing a place in the final. Batting first, Oman was bowled out for just 94 runs inside its allotted 20 overs after Nepal's disciplined bowling attack kept the batters under constant pressure. Chasing a modest target of 95, Nepal reached 95 runs at the loss of 2 wickets in just 9.2 overs, completing the chase with 64 balls to spare and sealing a comprehensive victory. Nepal's Karan Kesi was named Player of the Match for his match-winning performance, playing a crucial role in restricting Oman to a low total. With the emphatic win, Nepal advanced to the final and strengthened its bid for qualification to the Asian Games. Teenager Mira Andreeva won her first Grand Slam title as Polish qualifier Maja Swialinska was denied a fairy-tale French Open victory. Russian 8th seed Andreeva is the youngest woman to win the Roland Garros title since Monica Seles in 1992. 19-year-old Andreeva fulfilled the potential she has long shown with a 6-3, 6-2 victory over an opponent who was a 501 outsider before the tournament. After securing victory in 1 hour and 22 minutes, Andreeva fell to the court in elation before quickly running up to the stands for a warm embrace with her coach, Conchita Martinez, herself a former major champion after winning Wimbledon in 1994. Andreeva overcame a tense start where nerves and a swirling wind led to the final, starting with 4 successive breaks of serve. Iran has accused the U.S. of denying visas to integral members of its national football team's backroom staff, hours after Washington confirmed Iranian players had been given permissions to travel to the upcoming World Cup. U.S. officials said visas had been issued to all players and necessary support staff on Friday, 10 days before Iran's opening fixture in Los Angeles on June 15. They also said Iran would not be allowed to abuse the system to sneak terrorists into the United States under false pretenses. Iran's embassy in Turkey accused the U.S. of politically biased interference in sport by denying visas to a large portion of the managerial and executive staff and technical advisors. Iranian state-linked media said 15 administration officials, including the head of the Football Federation, his deputy, and a media director, were among those who were denied entry to the U.S. The team set off from the training base in Turkey on Saturday en route to Mexico, where they will be based for the tournament, and are expected to land in the early hours of Sunday after a 20-hour flight. And before we wrap up, here's the reminder of our top stories. Nepal's foreign minister returning home, concluding a 3-day official visit to India. Visit further strengthens bilateral relations. First General Convention of Nepal's ruling party underway in 28 districts. Provincial convention to be held from June 9. Sugar prices rise despite assurance. Consumers pay more as market rates rise up to 10%. Europe migration debate resurfaces at D-Day event. U.S. defense chief criticizes border policies. North Korea reaffirms nuclear status ahead of high-level summit. Remarks come a day before Xi's planned visit to Pyongyang. And Nepal makes it to Asian Games qualifier final. Registers 8-wicket victory over Oman. That's it for this edition of Primetime News. Our next bulletin will be up at 2200 hours Nepal time. Meanwhile, do join us for our social media and get the latest updates from our official website at nepaltelevision.com. Thank you for staying with us. Have a wonderful evening ahead.
Good evening and welcome to Business World. I am Siksha Bhattrai. This week, concerns over slowing global growth, rising trade tensions and higher energy costs are reshaping the economic outlook. At the same time, artificial intelligence is driving a new wave of investment and competition across industries, from computing and manufacturing to agriculture and space technology. We also look at major developments in energy security, e-commerce regulation, transportation and the growing challenges posed by illegal mining and supply chain disruptions. Here are the top international business stories of the week. The global economy is facing renewed uncertainty as rising energy and fertilizer costs linked to tensions in the Middle East threaten growth prospects. The OECD warns that higher inflation and weaker growth could create fresh challenges for businesses, consumers and government worldwide. The economic impact of the Middle East conflict is increasingly being felt across the globe. The OECD has warned that higher energy and fertilizer prices are set to slow economic growth and push inflation higher in 2026, even if the conflict eases in the coming months. The organization says prolonged disruptions could trigger a much deeper slowdown, raising the risk of recession in several countries and placing added pressure on households, businesses and developing economies worldwide.
Our central projection, the relatively more time-limited disruption scenario, assumes energy prices evolve broadly in line with futures markets as of 26 May, with oil averaging $92 US per barrel this year and $80 next year. We project global growth of 2.8% this year and 3.1% next year compared to 3.4% last year. That is 0.4 percentage points lower for 2026 than we projected in February before the conflict escalated.
The United States has proposed a new tariff on import from dozens of countries, raising concerns about the future of global trade. The measures could affect supply chains, increase costs for businesses, and add pressure to international economic relations. The United States has announced new tariffs of 10 to 12.5% on imports from dozens of countries, citing concerns over forced labor in global supply chains. The measures target nearly 60 trading partners, including the UK, European Union, Canada, India and Japan, which together account for almost all US imports. Washington says the move is aimed at protecting American workers from unfair competition linked to goods products with forced labor. Several countries have rejected the allegations, calling the tariffs unjustified, while others say they are already taking action. Intel has welcomed fresh competition from NVIDIA in the personal computer chip market, calling it a positive development as artificial intelligence opens new opportunities. The comments came after NVIDIA unveiled a new window-focused chip designed to power AI agents capable of performing complex tasks for users. The move is seen as a challenge to established chip makers, including Intel and AMD. The global race to build artificial intelligence infrastructure is accelerating as companies invest billions in new computing capacity. SoftBank's major investment in France is expected to strengthen Europe's position in the rapidly growing AI sector.
Japan's SoftBank Group will invest 45 billion euros over the next 5 years in a push to build up artificial intelligence infrastructure in France, the company announced. SoftBank said the investment, described as the biggest of its kind so far in Europe, would be made in the northern Hauts-de-France region and deliver 3.1 gigawatt of capacity. French engineering company Schneider Electric said it would be one of the project's key partners and equip the sites with its modules without disclosing financials. 3 sites are expected to come into operation by 2031.
The space industry continues to attract major investment as governments expand their defense and security capabilities. SpaceX has secured a significant contract that will support the development of advanced satellite-based tracking systems.
The United States is expanding its space-based missile defense capabilities with a new multi-billion-dollar satellite contract awarded to SpaceX. The U.S. Space Force announced a $4.16 billion deal for a satellite network designed to detect, track, and help target airborne threats as part of the Pentagon's broader defense strategy. The satellites are expected to support the Trump administration's Golden Dome missile defense initiative by providing advanced space-based sensing and tracking capabilities. The Space Force said the first constellation of satellites is projected to be operational by 2028, helping address critical surveillance and tracking gaps for U.S. forces. The Space Force said there are several companies in this SPAMTI vendor pool, including SpaceX, and it will issue multiple awards in the coming year. The award follows a separate $2.29 billion military communications contract for SpaceX to build high-speed satellite communications network.
China's automakers are rapidly increasing their influence in the global vehicle market, particularly in electric vehicles. Their growth is forcing established manufacturers in the United States, Europe and Japan to rethink their competitive strategies.
Honda Motor Company is recalling 98,892 vehicles in the United States over a defect that could cause front passenger airbags to deploy unintentionally, according to the U.S. National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or NHTSA. The recall affects certain Acura TLX, Honda Accord Hybrid, and 2022 Honda Accord models. NHTSA said a front passenger seat weight sensor may crack and develop an electrical short circuit, potentially triggering airbag deployment, even when suppression systems are meant to prevent activation for infants in child seats or young children. It is said that Honda dealers will replace the affected seat weight sensors free of charge as part of the recall remedy.
Competition among chip makers is intensifying as artificial intelligence becomes a key feature in personal computing. NVIDIA's latest AI-focused technology is raising expectations for a new generation of smart devices.
NVIDIA intensified competition in the personal computer market after unveiling a powerful AI-focused chip for Windows laptops. CEO Jensen Huang said the technology would help reinvent the PC, comparing its potential impact to the rise of smartphones. Industry experts described NVIDIA's move as a game changer, warning that traditional chip makers Intel and AMD now faced growing pressure in the race to develop AI-powered devices. The announcement also fueled broader discussions over the future of AI hardware, with companies exploring everything from AI PCs and smartphones to smart glasses and other next-generation gadgets.
The European Union has moved to release billions of dollars in previously frozen funds for Hungary. The decision marks an important economic and political developments for both Hungary and the wider European bloc.
The European Union has announced the release of $19 billion in frozen funds for Hungary, marking a major victory for Prime Minister Péter Magyar's newly elected government. The funds had been withheld during former Prime Minister Viktor Orban's tenure over concerns about democratic standards, corruption, and LGBTQ rights. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said $11.6 billion will come from the EU Recovery Fund, $4.8 billion from the cohesion funds, with an additional $2.5 billion to be released as reforms are completed. Magyar's government has already begun reversing key Orban-era policies, including abandoning plans to leave the International Criminal Court and allowing Budapest Pride Parade to proceed. EU officials say the first disbursement of funding could be expected before the end of the year if Hungary completes the required steps on schedule.
Farmers in Myanmar are confronting rising fuel and fertilizer costs as geopolitical tensions disrupt global markets. The higher expenses threaten agricultural production and could add to food security concerns.
Myanmar's paddy farmers have started tending their land as the monsoon planting season begins, but fuel and fertilizer price hikes caused by the US-Iran war threaten this year's harvest. Myanmar imports up to 95% of its chemical fertilizers, the United Nations World Food Programme WFP says, leaving it highly exposed to supply shocks caused by the Middle East war. The surge in input cost is forcing many farmers to cut back on fertilizer use or borrow money to finance cultivation, increasing financial risks in rural communities. The WFP warns a 50% drop in fertilizer use could result in farming output dipping up to 15% in Myanmar, where food insecurity is already widespread.
Record gold prices are driving renewed illegal mining activity in Brazil's Amazon rainforest. Authorities and indigenous communities warn that the trend is increasing environmental damage and social tensions.
Illegal gold mining is emerging as a growing challenge in Brazil's Amazon rainforest as record high gold prices drive prospectors deeper into protected indigenous territories. Indigenous leader Bepjo Mekragnotire says he is preparing another operation to expel illegal miners from the Bao indigenous territory in southeastern Amazon region of Brazil, warning that repeated incursions continue despite past crackdowns. Indigenous organizations have urged authorities to intervene, citing the risk of a large-scale armed conflict following recent confrontations between miners and the local communities. Brazil's environmental agency IBAMA says it is focusing resources on the most critical areas but cannot maintain a presence across the entire Amazon. The recent Brazilian government has stepped up enforcement since 2023 by cracking down on wildcat mining and destroying hundreds of excavators and other equipments used in the illegal operations. But officials warn that the difficulty of confronting the organized crime in the region remains a major challenge.
Artificial intelligence is expanding beyond technology industries and into agriculture. Researchers in Turkey are developing robotic farming systems designed to improve productivity and address labor shortages.
AI-powered robotic farming systems developed by researchers at Ankara University are transforming agriculture by automating key tasks such as planting, spraying, hoeing and harvesting. Among the innovations is an autonomous planting robot capable of placing seedlings directly into soil without manual labor, described by researchers as a world first. The systems aim to tackle labor shortages and improve efficiency, while an AI-driven spraying robot can operate for up to 6 hours on electric power, offering a lower emission alternative with potential for wider adoption across Turkey and beyond.
From concerns over global growth and rising trade barriers to advances in artificial intelligence, energy security and technological innovation, this week's developments highlights the forces shaping economies and industries around the world. As businesses and governments navigate an increasingly complex global environment, trade, technology and geopolitical developments continue to influence investment decisions, supply chains and future growth prospects. Those were the top global business stories of the week. Thank you for watching Business World. Goodbye for now.
Heaven above and angels below. This is the essence of Ruby Valley. Nestled in the northern part of Nepal's Dhading district, Ruby Valley is a hidden jewel surrounded on all sides by majestic mountain ranges. The landscape here is a feast for the eyes. White rhododendron blossoms paint the hillsides and sprawling rice fields shimmer under the sunlight. At about 300 kilometers from Kathmandu, the valley is a serene retreat, rich in culture, tradition, and natural beauty. Reaching Ruby Valley involves a remarkable trek that starts with a scenic journey from Kathmandu through Nuwakot and Rasuwa, winding towards the base of Ganesh Himal, the towering peak that watches over this land. The trek leads through dense pine and oak forests, terraced farmlands, and vibrant local villages like Tipling, home to the Tamang community. These people live in harmony with nature, cultivating crops and raising livestock while keeping their rich traditions alive, welcoming visitors with warm hospitality and cultural performances. The striking Pangsang Pass at 3,800 meters marks a stunning milestone on the route, offering panoramic views of the green-clad hills and distant Himalayan ranges. Below, forests of tall sal trees stand as silent guardians. As travelers traverse this landscape, they witness local women harvesting crops, hear the heartfelt songs sung by villagers in the fields, and feel the essence of a life deeply connected to the land. The daily sight of Ganesh Himal inspires awe and a sense of peace that visitors carry with them. Ruby Valley lies in the heart of the Himalayas, surrounded by some of Nepal's most famous mountain ranges, Manaslu, Annapurna, Langtang, and Ganesh Himal itself. This geographic embrace creates breathtaking scenery at every turn. Yak caravans and mule trains add a touch of timeless charm to the trekking experience, enhancing the rustic beauty of this remote land. The village of Chalis, nestled in the lap of Ganesh Himal, is a cultural crossroads for the Gurung community. Visitors witness their unique traditions, hear their folk songs by evening fires, and enjoy their vibrant dances, which invite travelers to connect on a deeper level. The journey continues beyond the villages to sacred sites like Tatopani Kunda, where natural hot springs offer spiritual purification and healing waters believed to renew body and soul. From there, hikers embark on a challenging yet rewarding trek to the holy Ganesh Kunda, a glacial pond named after Lord Ganesh. This pristine water body mirrors the majestic peaks around it, creating an ethereal panorama that captivates all those who visit. With peaks ascending over 7,400 meters, Ganesh Himal stands as a guardian of this sacred valley. Ruby Valley is more than a destination. It is an invitation to experience Nepal's untouched nature, vibrant cultures, and spiritual heritage all in one journey. For those seeking a unique adventure off the beaten path, Ruby Valley offers an unparalleled blend of breathtaking landscapes, warm hospitality, and rich traditions that make it one of Nepal's top destinations for international and domestic travelers.
Hello, welcome to Declassified Beyond the Brief on NTV World. I'm Devendra Subedi. In this episode, we try to explore a young Nepali artist's journey from Kathmandu to the global stage. A journey from scribbling pictures in canvas to becoming the first contemporary Nepali artist to be included in the Museum of Fine Arts, Boston, United States, in itself is fascinating. We will try to explore art, its forms, the artist herself, her life and work, and that is no less than an example for all the budding artists. Let's welcome Sneha Shrestha, aka Imagine.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Let's start with this Imagine thing.
Sure.
Can you explain what this Imagine exactly is?
Sure. I mean, when I was first introduced to art as a young adult after graduating from college, I was really introduced to graffiti. And a lot of times graffiti artists have sort of what is called a street name. And when my mentor at that time asked me to choose a name, you know, I really didn't have an idea. But then I thought of what was closest to my heart. And I automatically thought of my mom. And my mom's name is Kalpana. And so when you translate Kalpana into English, it means imagination.
Is that what you're wearing right now?
Yes, actually. Yeah. This says Kalpana, and you know, it's my way of keeping my mom close to my heart. And every time I sign my name, I get to write her name.
You were influenced by graffiti, as you said, and now sculpture also you are pursuing, and you are mural painter as well. You have followed different forms, the art, right? The name itself, this name that you have chosen, doesn't sound graffitish like, but closer to your roots, your families. Was that something worked on or thought about?
Yeah, I wanted to choose something that felt like me. I didn't want, and I also needed like a shorter name, so like Imagine instead of Imagination made sense. And really my family and where I come from is really what roots me into my work, and so it made sense.
I'm really excited to have you here in our studios in Kathmandu. We caught you as you were here in Kathmandu for some project work, as you said. What is art exactly, Sneha? How should we define art? I know it's a very abstract term. This could have multiple understanding and interpretations, but how would you, as a performing artist, define art?
Well, as a visual artist, I would define art as self-expression. It's a way of sharing how I see the world.
Just that much?
Yeah.
What about the feelings?
I mean that is like, that includes everything, right? Like how I see the world, how I'm feeling about it, how I want people to see what I'm seeing. I think it's a powerful form of self-expression.
Art is something you are interested in or you like. When was the first memories of drawing something? When was it?
I think my first memory was watching my mom translate these English children's books into Nepali children's books. It was a time where there weren't a lot of Nepali children's books, right? So I remember, you know, the story of the ant and the grasshopper. I remember it was, you know, my mom was translating these books. She would write them in Nepali, and then she would draw them into like large books. She was a teacher. She was a teacher, and so she would take that to her. She was my Nepali teacher, actually, and so she would take it to the classroom and teach us in Nepali, but she would make it exciting, right? If you think about the books, even till now, textbooks and maybe texts on newspapers kind of look similar. Right? But then the way she would draw these pictures larger than life and the letters, you know, like much larger so that kids can read it. I think that was my like really, you know, first memory of like being fascinated by what colors can do, what these like broken pieces of color pencils can do on paper. But I mean, I've loved art and painting really all my life. So I think it was just a matter of, you know, will I do
When
this?
would I just discover it?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a thing where I was like, I want to be an artist.
Was there somebody who saw the brighter side of your painting and told you that you should be doing this when you were a child?
That's a good question. I think I found myself getting drawn to painting all the time. It's just something that I loved doing, regardless of whether I had an art class or not. I just found myself doing it all the time. Even when I went to college, I had my, I majored in globalization studies. But in addition to that, I would find myself sneaking in art classes and making time for that. And so I just knew that that's something that felt like me, and I was just gravitated by it.
Any specific elements that that you draw inspiration in your present day, let's say, art, Nepali culture, something that is rooted in something that is pretty Nepali-like?
Yeah, I think everything about my work is kind of rooted into where I come from, how I grew up in Kathmandu, my household, what my mom and dad showed me that is part of my, our tradition and culture as Newari people. I think it is hard to represent a whole country, being given that our country is so diverse. We speak more than 100 languages just inside Nepal, so it's impossible for me to represent the whole of Nepal. But what I realize is that I can tell the story of how I grew up, and hopefully other people can resonate with that. It really came from the need of expressing myself in terms of who I am. Because usually, I think even till this day when you're in the US, people are like, okay, you're from Nepal, oh, Mount Everest. That's about it, right? Yeah. And so how do I explain that I don't live anywhere close to Mount Everest? No, I haven't climbed it. Yes, I've seen it, but that doesn't tell my whole story. That doesn't tell your story. It doesn't tell my story, right? So I think it came from a struggle of saying, how do I tell people who I am? Where do I even start? I think that struggle became real over time. And I think art really helped me talk about, this is, how my mom does things at home. These are the colors that I was surrounded by growing up. These are temple, shapes of like different temples that is part of our, everyday architecture in Kathmandu. When you're walking around, there's a temple here, there's a temple there. There's so much fabric, like celebratory fabric around. And I think that's what I wanted to share. Because your identity isn't just one thing, it's all these things you're surrounded by, you grew up with. So I think that's where it really came from.
Tell me something about your fascination for that particular script.
Sure.
Because that connects to what you said just now. I'm fed up answering the question that I'm not somewhere near from Mount Everest. But you translated your art, you brought that into your art, expressing your culture. Somewhere there, very close to that. Is it your answer to that question by adopting that Devanagari in your art?
Sure, it feels closer to answering the question that I've ever gotten to, because Nepali letters are, I can confidently tell someone that these are Nepali letters. It's based in the Devanagari script. Devanagari script is used to write Nepali and Sanskrit and Hindi, and Sanskrit is one of the oldest written forms of languages in the world. And the fact that we can write Devanagari so casually, like a kid can write in Devanagari like Nepali so casually, it's really a point of cultural pride for me to look at my native letters and be like, look, this is so important. So much of history is based on this. So much of written history is based on this. This is really something special, guys. Like, look at this. So getting to say that and being excited about it really got me started.
Everybody is an artist somewhere in the heart, they say, but until somebody recognizes it. Do you remember when was your first work of art? Somebody said that, yes, this is awesome. You should make more and more of it. Do you remember when was that moment?
That's such a good question. I'm smiling. I'm like smiling because there really wasn't that one time, It really took time to realize that this is something I want to do. This is something that I can make happen. It took a very long time. It wasn't like, going to school here and everything. I hadn't even met a real living artist in my life when I was in school. I hadn't been to a gallery, right? So all of that came later in my life. So it wasn't one moment. It was a series of moments that I looked back on and connected the dots. And I think that's what I continue to do, is connect the dots in terms of, okay, this makes sense. This feels good. Let's move forward with it. So I would say it was a series.
You got family support when you wanted to pursue this as a career?
I think it creeped up so slowly that it wasn't a turning point. It was like, I was taking my, whatever I was trying to do at that time along with my artwork. And so it built up over time. So there was no turning point in that, hey, I'm going to do this, sort of. But I would say there was one moment after I finished my master's where I spoke to my family and I was like, hey, just give me 1 year where I just want to try this. I feel like I've done everything. I'm confident that I can find a job if this doesn't work out. Can you just give me 1 year? I just want to try it out. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. And it's been 8 years since, so I'm not sure what to say.
You went to the US to pursue your bachelor's degree. Still, you're not aware that you're going to be an artist?
No.
Were you?
No. It wasn't, a lot of people ask me, like, is it a dream come true? And literally, it wasn't even in my dream. It wasn't in my vocabulary that it was something that I could do. Being born and raised here, it wasn't a career path that someone was like, hey, this is a possibility. I think, it happened over time as well. So, like, bachelor's degree is 4 years in the US. I think it was like 3.5 years in, my professor told me, you've taken enough art classes to be an art major. We know you're a globalization studies major, but do you also want to add this? You just need one more class. And I was like, wow, I had no idea. Sure. That's how I became an art major. It wasn't like I want to be an artist and I should, And I think even after graduation, I wasn't working as an artist. I was working at an arts nonprofit at that time, but I wasn't working as an artist. And I think it was over time that it happened.
As a student, how were you? You were a bright student, weren't you?
Good question. A lot of people, I think it's an interesting question to ask because I didn't consider myself a bright student when I was up till high school. I was in the same school from like 3rd grade till 12th grade. I wasn't considered a good student. I was considered like a troublemaker. I was always told I was like a bad kid, and that my ideas weren't valid ever. And I always used to have this question like, why can't I answer it this way? Because this seems like a right answer too. Like I was always curious, I think the first time I really enjoyed learning and I felt like I wanted to do my homework and wanted to read was when I took this anthropology class in college. And I was like, wow, this is so interesting. This is what it feels like to enjoy learning. And I guess that's the point where I started wanting to be a good student. I think before that, it felt like a necessity that was placed on me, as most students might feel. But at that point, I was like, wow, I really am looking forward to doing my homework. I want to read this book so that I know, what's going on in class and stuff like that. So it's a complicated question to say the least.
Why I asked you this, because you studied at Harvard's in full scholarship.
Correct.
A dull student wouldn't do that. Or a dull student like me would not be able to do that, would I?
I think it's a definition of like what's a good student, right? Yeah. Is a good student, saying yes to everything? Is a good student following the instructions exactly like you've given them? Is a good student not asking any questions and just nodding your head in agreement? Or is a good student a critical thinker who will ask you questions back because they're curious? Because I'm that kind of student and I feel like I'm a student of life. I continue learning. So in terms of that, I am a student. But I'm not sure if a good student is like a...
Inquisitiveness in you led you to this career. If I say that, would I be wrong?
No, I think you'd be so right. I think it was that curiosity of like, what if? What if I gave myself 1 year to try this out? And not being scared to kind of take that step and being okay with the fact that it could not work out, and that's okay. But if it works out, that's great too. So being okay with the unknown is such an important thing to have, I think.
Would you say there's no harm in being bad by asking questions or being inquisitive? Follow your passion? Would you say that, or would you say be a good student, do your homework, listen to your parents and teachers? Which one would you suggest?
I would say both. I would say if you're smart, you know, you have to be part of the paradigm too that the school system is set on. Yes, you do need to get good grades. You do need to be a good student. At the same time, also be yourself. If that means being curious and asking questions, then do that. So I think it's not just as simple as like follow your passion.
My next question, Sneha, being a Nepali, abroad for studies, following your passion, was it difficult initially?
Yeah, I think it's always difficult when you follow your passion, especially when it's something that no one has done before in your vicinity at least. I think that's why it took me a long time to come to it. I think if someone was like, hey, you're really good at art, you should think about being an artist, and this is what you need to do to be an artist. If someone told me that, I think I would have been in a different place now, but I think it was a lot of trial and error to figure out what I want to do. And I think it's important to do that at the same time, because that's sort of part of finding yourself, right? And once you do, there's really, you know, you kind of feel invincible in a way that you feel like this is me. And, you know, there's no doubt about it.
Tell us something about mural painting. How is it different from other forms of painting or art, let's say? What exactly is mural painting?
Sure. So my background has been in graffiti, and graffiti is based on, it's an art form based on letters. And, you know, it started in New York City by young people at a rebellion. And so they would paint really large pieces of like their name on trains, on walls. And so that's really what got me started. I was really interested in painting. Now murals are, you know, graffiti pieces can be murals. Graffiti is mostly like letters. It's a very big emphasis on looking at letters as images. Murals are large paintings on walls. I think in terms of aesthetics, it really depends on the viewers, like who is viewing it. I think that's the beauty of art, that it's subjective, right? It's like something that I love might not be something that you love, and that's okay. So a graffiti piece can be part of a mural. Mural is basically a really large work of art on like buildings and walls, and that's, you know, really large. So the aesthetics can really depend on the artist. It can be anything really. It can be a portrait. It can be someone's name really large. Yeah.
Allow me to ask this question. Is art emotion, expression, or devotion?
I think it's all of the above. I think it's so much of trying to express yourself in the most authentic way you know how. And I think without devotion, that is not possible, because it takes so much to come to understanding who you are, and then even more to understand what you want to say, especially when you're given a platform. So I think I would say it's all of the above.
Any special reason for choosing the first alphabet?
Sure. So when I started realizing that I wanted to use Devanagari script to create my paintings, there was this sense of empowerment that I had. I was like, wow, this makes so much sense. It's, you know, it's amazing. And then, you know, I used to try writing different words. But then when the pandemic hit, that was a difficult time for everybody, right? So, you know, I wasn't painting outside. I was just in my apartment, and I came back to painting in a way where I was, you know, I just wanted to feel sane. I just wanted to feel the comfort of maybe home. I was missing home so much. At that time, obviously, it wasn't a good time to come back home. So I was really turning to painting to find that comfort. And I was really thinking about, you know, what is the essence of home? If I can't, is it just a physical space? And if it's not, then what is the essence of home? And one of the sort of like things that I thought about was home is like the same comfort that you have when you can run up the stairs of your home, even when the lights are out. During load shedding, every Nepali kid, you can go up and down your stairs.
They could do that because they know it.
Exactly. That's home, right? That's the comfort of home. That's the familiarity of home. And I wanted to capture that essence. And then I could only write ka. I found myself writing ka over and over again, just like a meditation. And then over time, I was just obsessed with, you know, how I want to write it. And then after that, I was like, okay, now I want to write it the exact same way. Like, I'm pretty sure you can write ka with your eyes closed, Why? Because it's the first letter that we learned how to write. And it's the same as the comfort of home. So when I figured that out, I was like, yes, I just want to write this for now. And that's where, the repetition of like the letter Ka began. So.
What satisfies you the most? The price that your work fetches? The comment from critics? Or the relief that you feel after expressing yourself out?
That's a good question. I think it's the reason why I chose this job is because this is that one job for me that lets me be myself 100% real and be myself 100% in the most authentic way I know how. So if in a project I'm able to express myself 100% like that, that is what makes me really happy and satisfied. And yeah, and I think it's a powerful thing to be able to be yourself 100% of the time, every single day. And then over time, you also learn to be okay with yourself. So I would say, yeah, I think authenticity, my voice is what's most important to me, which is why I do what I do. So I would say that's what would make me more...
What is the best compliment you have received from somebody who loves art after having seen your work?
Oh, wow. That's a really good question. I think it depends on who says it. I think what jumps in my mind right now is when, like in Boston or even here in Kathmandu, when I meet young people and they say, I could really see what you're trying to do, what you're trying to show. Or like in Boston, there might be Nepali families who come and show, like parents, they show their kids, like, this is what it is and this is what she's trying to do and I'm not even around. I think that's the biggest compliment for me.
Let's go to mural painting again. Can you just walk us through the process from the concept, designing, and up to the wall? Can you just walk us through the process? How does it go?
Sure. So a big part of the mural, of creating a mural, especially a really large one, is the collaboration element of it. For example, my 6-story tall mural on the MIT building, that took a lot of collaboration. Even before the painting process began, we have to work with the city, permits, the local business district people, and then local stakeholders, people in the neighborhood. I think that's the part that's invisible, but that's the part that takes most time. Can we paint this wall? Is this wall stable to be able to be painted?
Once you're done with all the, let's say, legals and those sort of formalities, now it's time to conceptualize your vision on the field. How long does it take? Your MIT, let's say, mural we were talking about.
Yeah, I started by taking photos of the wall, and then I also spend a lot of time in front of the wall to see how people walk around it. I want to see how people experience the wall, what the wall looks like at sunset, at sunrise, because my work is going to be there and I want it to have a good home. I want it to make sense. So it's a big part of it is understanding the environment that I'm in. And then I start, taking pictures, and then I'll print them, and then I'll sketch on the building, and then start the process.
Sneha is the first Nepali artist whose work has been acquired by 2 world-famous fine art museums. How does it feel, Sneha, to have that heavy cap over your head?
It's pretty exciting. I think it's, the Museum of Fine Arts, the painting that was acquired, it's in their permanent collection, and to think that it's going to be there long after I'm gone for other Nepali people and people of various cultures to be able to see, I think that's a really powerful thing for me to realize. I think it's wonderful to be able to see a contemporary Nepali voice. I think it takes away from the mysticism, the stereotypical kind of box that Nepali people and Nepali culture is usually put into, especially in Western museums. We're seen as this culture of ancient, of past, but the truth is we're a living tradition, we're a living culture. We're people who practice all these things till this day. We're not just people of the past. I think it's important to leave behind such stories in important institutions like museums, and the other one is at the Harvard Art Museums. It's a sculpture that they acquired, and it's going to be on long-term view, and it's in their collection as well.
Fine art museums like Boston or Harvard, they are acquiring pieces from artists from Asia as well. Are they becoming more and more open to the international artists as well, or would, if I say that, I'd be just undermining your creative talent?
I think the world is globalizing, has globalized over time, right? And the US is a melting pot of various cultures. I do think there's a realization that there needs to be a representation for all these cultures that make up the country. And so it's an important time to be part of that conversation.
So you were the first to be from this country. Now, does that inspire you to work harder and you know, what's next am I going to do sort of thing? Does that give you more inspiration or make you more desperate?
It encourages me. It gives me a signal that I'm doing something right, and it feels right. And people from various parts of Nepal that I meet in Boston and other parts of the US, I feel encouraged by them when they see it. I think people who visited Nepal and are not necessarily Nepali see Nepal in my work, and that's a point of pride. It just gives me a green signal that I'm doing something right, and I'm motivated to keep going.
How does it feel to be the cultural ambassador of the country in the melting pot?
That's
around the world you're traveling now. How does it feel?
That's a huge phrase to take on.
You are, Sneha. You are the first artist from this country to be represented there. Not just represented, but acquired by those institutions. So that does give you the tag of being our cultural ambassador abroad.
I feel like it's important to carry on the work that I'm doing. I think it's important to share to younger people what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, so that maybe the younger generation can do it even better than I am doing it, and I hope that they do. I think it's so important to carry my people wherever I go, however the best I can. At the end of the day, I'm just one person, so hopefully there's more people who get the opportunity to do the same and represent, you know, their part of their Nepali life.
This is Declassified, and we are talking with Sneha Shrestha, contemporary Nepali mural artist, sculpture, graffiti-based artist, and a fusion artist. In the next part of the conversation, now we talk about the best works of Sneha. Which of the works that you have done so far is closest to your heart? I would be definitely not doing justice to you by asking this question. I know you are the creator. Everything is very, very dear to you. But still, if you have to pick one,
sure,
which one would you pick?
I mean, my mentor has always told me you're only as good as your last piece. And so I would love to talk about, you know, my most recent show at the Institute of Contemporary Art. These are pictures from the Institute of Contemporary Art where I'm currently exhibiting my work. It's part of the Foster Prize show. The Foster Prize is one of the most prestigious art prizes in Boston, and it's something that I've been eyeing for the past 6 years, and I've really wanted that prize really badly. And you know, you can't apply for it, you have to get selected for it. And when you get selected, you get to have the show at the Institute of Contemporary Art, and it's for Boston artists. And so to be selected for that felt incredible. And when something I wanted came to fruition, it was like, okay, it's time to do what you felt ready to do for a long time, is have sort of like this first solo museum show, and you get to show a big body of work.
How are you expressing yourself in these two pieces?
Sure, so these two pieces are part of that show at the Institute of Contemporary Art, the ICA in Boston. These two pieces are my first art-shaped paintings. These are 7 feet each, and they contribute to the architectural feel of the space. In this, you see fractals of the Devanagari script. So they're not necessarily words, but they're, if you looked at the alphabet really zoomed in really close, that's what you would see, in my opinion.
I can see Ka on the blue side of the canvas.
Yes. So like, you know, I call it like the shadow part. So if you think of an arch, that's sort of like the shadow part of the painting. That's where you see the repetition of Ka. And I brought the Ka there because my first painting acquired by the Museum of Fine Arts, that painting is a repetition of Ka over and over again.
Let's move on to the next one.
So this is the painting that was acquired by the Museum of Fine Arts, Boston, and it so happened that when my mom was visiting me, it was on view, and so I got to take her there and, you know, show it, and her, you know, reaction just...
This must be very close to you. Ka there, your mother, Kalpana there, and you are the Imagine there. So this is a masterpiece,
This
I would
was
say.
a special moment for sure, and this was a painting I actually created in 2020 during that time that I told you about during the pandemic, you know. And the curator, Laura Weinstein at the MFA, recognized that, and she chose this as the painting to be acquired.
Probably this is the largest piece you have, of mural you have painted?
It's not the largest, but it is the tallest. It's about 60 feet tall, so like 6 stories. And it's in the heart of Cambridge, and it's at the confluence of various neighborhoods. You know, MIT is right there, so a lot of students get to see it. A lot of Nepali students at MIT have shown me the you know, that they're there and like tagged me on it, which is super cool. Yeah.
You just do it all alone, right? Or you just need some helping hand to finish this piece?
No, I wish I could get a helping hand, but because it's my handwriting on the wall, I do it all myself.
So all alone, apart
Correct.
from the machinery that has been used, it's all you who has done it?
Yes, and I operate the machine as well. So the articulating boom lift that you see me here, I operate it myself. And my photographer was on the other end of it taking this photo.
Okay, this is how it looks once it's done.
Yeah, so for scale, you can see like tiny people on the bottom.
So it's a really huge mural. Tell me something about this one. This I can clearly see Ka, your very dear Ka there. Tell me something. Where is it?
I think this is in Michigan. This was the moment where I really was dedicated to the letter Ka, and I felt confident enough to paint it so large and be able to tell people, you know, this is the first letter of the Nepali alphabet, and this is what it means to me. And so I feel like this moment was that moment where I felt like I've arrived. I'm so confident in telling people about this language that they know nothing about. But I felt, you know, that I could.
Tell us something about this one, Sneha.
Sure. So this is a sculpture. It's called Dwarpalika. This is the sculpture that was acquired by the Harvard Art Museums. It's currently on view. We actually just installed it before I left. And, you know, my parents were able to see it. And this is, you see the repetition of Ka. It's made out of brass and powder-coated steel. And yeah, it's sort of suspended from the ceiling, and it kind of has this aura about her. I call her because there's that energy that she has, and there's a environment that's like built around her because of the shadows that are laid on the floor. So it's a really special piece for me.
When the creator like you hand your piece of work to museums like this, how does it feel? Like shedding your skin or something like that?
It feels emotional because I remember the day that I packed this. You know, it takes a long time for acquisitions, for museum acquisitions to happen. And so when I recognized that it was the last day that I packed her up and dropped her off at this storage facility. It's like, you don't drop it off at the museum. So storage facility, and I just said, the next time I see her, she's going to be, installed. And I definitely had a tear in my eye. And I was just like, wow, it feels like such a moment to kind of take in. And it's, it's bittersweet for sure, because you work towards something for so long, and then it's going to be at this really important place for a very long time. It's definitely an important moment.
Sneha, let's talk about this one. This looks really, really large.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty large mural. It's in East Boston. It's by the water. Mm-hmm. So you can see it from the other shore of Boston. And it was this really special piece that I got to do, and I wanted to make sure that I did 3 circular shapes, because 3 is such a sacred number with everything that we do in our rituals and pujas and everything. And so I really wanted to talk about that. And it is, it's one of my largest works.
Fantastic. We're so much fascinating, these works, Sneha.
Thank you.
please allow me to do this, okay? Pick one of these pictures. Of all these pictures we have done and your sculptures we have displayed here, if you had to, okay, you can't escape this.
Okay.
Pick one only.
Okay. I think I would pick the Cambridge one. The Cambridge mural that you saw, the really tall one, because that tested me in different ways. That it's kind of like building a muscle, right? You're tested and there's pain, and then you grow stronger from it. I think it's one of those pieces. That's why it's so close to my heart. And also, you know, so many people have kind of, at this point, the mural kind of belongs to the city. It's not my work anymore. So many people attach their stories. So many people have gotten married in front of the mural, like take their wedding photos.
You must be a special guest in those ceremonies.
No, but I get sent these photos. You know, young Nepali students at MIT take selfies in front of it. I mean, it's really part of the city's DNA at this point. And so I'm really honored to have that work there.
Fantastic. The works of Sneha Shrestha, aka Imagine, some of her works. These are just some of the works that she has produced. There are so many things. She's working globally, working with multinational projects where she's working not only in the US but around the world. Now, last part of our conversation, Sneha, you are an inspiration to the youth. What message do you have for them? All those who want to pursue their passion and build a career out of it, or let's say pursue their passion only.
Sure, I would say take time to figure out what you want to do. It might not be as soon as you graduate high school. It might not be as soon as you finish your bachelor's degree. It's a process. I would say look at it as a process and make sure that you find joy in the process. And there's no really this end place that you get to that you'll find happiness in. I would say if you're happy in the process, then you're really closer to finding yourself. Figure out what is the most authentic version of you and kind of use that as a compass to pursue whatever you're pursuing. So the message here isn't go out and be an artist. The message is, you know, find out who you are and what you love doing. And that might not be your job immediately, but just finding something that you love doing is such an important part of being. So, yeah.
What message would you like to give to other youngsters who are looking up to you as inspiration?
I would say it's okay to be different. It's okay to think differently. It's okay to ask questions. And it's so important to have mentors. I think those are the things that I would love to share with younger people.
What is life, Sneha?
Life? I think it's a process. I think it's like this fun process that you get to like try different things out in. And yeah, I think that's what life is.
Striking a balance in life, how important it is.
I think it's so important to balance out. I think it's important, first of all, to find a compass of what guides you. For me, what guides me is my happiness, and that could mean in different ways. That means being able to see my parents as often as I want. That means being a good friend. That means building communities in both of my homes, in Kathmandu and in Boston. These are things that really kind of make my life, and kind of make things clear, like what are important to me, and that's my community, that's my friends and my family. And I think once you have that compass, everything kind of starts falling into place.
Last question to you, Sneha. Your career goals and your personal goals.
Sure. I think this sounds so, I'm not trying to boast it, but I think I'm living it as, you know, like career and personal goals. As an artist, it kind of melds into one thing. And I want to take both of them side by side. So if my career helps me express myself even better, that's amazing. Things that I might say no to, that might be, you know, for my personal life. And I think balancing those things is quite important. But both of that is still me. So I got to take both of them in a balanced way. So, yeah. Okay, so I have something that I brought for you. It's a sticker. And it has the first letter Ka on it. And it's something that I do for everybody that I meet. I give them a sticker. And the background for that is really, you know, when graffiti writers meet each other. We exchange stickers. Street artists, murals, we exchange stickers. And I really like to do that. And stickers, something, you know, playful and a little bit of joy. So, yeah.
My privilege, Sneha. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful conversation with a Nepali contemporary artist who is definitely a world-class artist, Sneha Shrestha, whose name in itself is Imagine, that correlates to her roots, her mother. Thank you so much for watching this show, and definitely do follow us on our website, our social media handles. Until next time, from me and my entire crew of Declassified, bye-bye.
Dai Lake in Karnali province is a geographically remote district, yet rich with untapped potential for tourism. Stepping into Dai Lake, celebrated as a treasure trove of Khas art, culture and heritage, brings a unique sense of joy. Journey begins amid its natural beauty, leading us toward Mahabu Rural Municipality. As we leave the mid-hill highway, the terrain becomes challenging, with hilly, muddy roads demanding patience and skill. Long lines of vehicles crawl carefully along the cliffs, reflecting both the difficulty of the route and the enduring devotion of Mahabu Dham. Many travelers choose to continue on foot, advancing step by step toward their destination. Passing through Channa, Dasarathi, Okharbans, Bhavsaini, Nauli and Unipata, pilgrims ascend the slopes toward Lisne before finally reaching Mahabu Patan. Pilgrims from Dai Lake and nearby districts often arrive late at night, having begun their journey the previous day. The path to Mahabu Dham is thrilling, adventurous and breathtaking, made even more dramatic by the steady rain, drifting fog and steep inclines. Yet the journey itself feels uniquely rewarding. Mahabu Lake or Mahabu Dham, located within Mahabu Rural Municipality, is a remarkable place of natural beauty, religious significance and cultural heritage. Situated at an altitude of 4,200 meters, the area is adorned with emerald lakes, grazing flocks of sheep and goats, and a sky that dances with Himalayan mist. Every year, during Janai Purnima, a grand fair is held here, drawing thousands of devotees from across the region. Mahabu Dham's spiritual importance is deeply rooted in the ancient worship of Lord Shiva, revered here as the origin site. From Mahabu Lake, visitors can enjoy magnificent views of Api and Sai Palhimal, and on clear days, even the plains of Bardia. Given its religious importance and natural splendor, Mahabu Dham holds immense potential as a religious tourism destination. Improving the rough, narrow access roads is essential for supporting this growth. Mahabu Dham is more than a pilgrimage site. It is a confluence of culture, history, faith, and nature. To truly appreciate its significance, one must visit Mahabu Lake at least once, immerse oneself in its natural beauty, and experience the serene environment that leaves a lasting impression.
Hello, Saudi Kharka, hello! Wow!
एकदमै राम्रो रहेछ रिफ्रेस्ड फिल भयो त्यो क्योसबाट अलि टाढा आएको जस्तो
यहाँसम्मको एउटा केबल कार भइदिए एकदम बेटर हुन्थ्यो जस्तो लाग्छ मलाई
माहौल अथवा यहाँको वातावरण यति रमणीय छ कि यसलाई शब्दमा वर्णन गरेर पनि साध्य छैन
The gently flowing Sani Bheri is suddenly veiled by drifting clouds, and with the chill rising from its swift current, the desire to soar is fulfilled as we enter eastern Rukum. Stone and clay houses stacked upon one another, the white Himalayan peaks, vibrant flower gardens of Bukit Batan, melodious rivers and lakes, and unique authentic arts and culture. All of these make Eastern Rukum a place that captivates every visitor. Our aim is to bring this distant, remote land closer to all. This time our destination is Chauri Kharga, located at an altitude of about 4,000 meters above sea level. Our trek begins at Bati Halune. On the border of Eastern Rukum and Baglung along the Mid-Hill Highway. Though it is said that the hike to Chauri Kharga takes around 3 hours, we wonder how long it will take us.
रमाइलो छ उद्यान छ हात हातीतिर यतातिर घामले गर्दा रमाइलो लाग्यो भन्ने चाउन गर्दा भन्ने यस्तो रमाइलो ठाउँ रहेछ हेर्नु
I'm very happy.
हिजो हामीले यस्तो मजाको सिन हेर्न पाइएन अहिले चाहिँ त्यही अब आज हजुर
बिहान 5 बजे आएर ल्याएको हिजो बेलुका त पुरै कुहिरो दियो यहाँ त केही देखिँदैन
Chauri Carcass sits high in the hills of Bhumi Rural Municipality 1 in eastern Rukum. It is truly a rare gift of nature, beyond words to fully describe. In winter, these hills lie under a blanket of snow, but now they open up in vibrant color. Green pastures, wide grazing lands, blossoming flowers, and herds of yaks, sheep, and horses make Chauri Carcass a destination of extraordinary delight. When the sun breaks through the northern peaks, Putha, Dhaulagiri, Churi, and Sisne, they reveal themselves in full grandeur. Rivers flowing through the valleys, including the northern Ganga and Nisel Dhor, together with the backdrop of Dhor Patan, enchant every traveller. The meadows of Chauri Kharka bloom with colourful flowers. Among them, cows, sheep and horses graze peacefully, creating a scene that feels almost dreamlike. Travelers walk along narrow trails, disappearing and reappearing through the mist, immersed in the enchantment of the landscape.
हाम्रो वरिपरिको यो डाँडाहरू भ्यू भनेको उसु भने वाइल्ड फ्लावर्सले सबैले एकदम रिफ्रेश त्यही नै भन्ने होला आउनु पनि वर्थ इट छ.
The weary faces of trekkers brighten as they take in these views, and you can clearly see joy and wonder reflected in their eyes. Fatigue melts away into the beauty of nature. Eastern Rukum is blessed with a wealth of natural treasures, mountains, rivers, lakes, caves, and valuable herbs. In recent years, Chauri Kharka has become an increasingly popular destination for domestic travelers, drawing visitors eager to witness its natural magnificence.
U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has criticized European nations over migration for allowing what he described as an invasion on their shores during a D-Day anniversary speech in France. Hegseth was speaking in Normandy 82 years after Allied forces stormed French beaches to liberate Nazi-occupied Europe in 1944.
Sadly, today, different European beaches are stormed by different dangerous ideologies. Beaches in Spain, in Italy, in Greece, and Bulgaria. Boats and men arrive. When will European capitals do something about that invasion? Or is it too late? I pray not, and I believe not.
He said they stood by their allies and expected their allies to be capable and ready to stand alongside them.
We stand by our allies. And we expect our allies capable and ready to stand alongside us. The heroes of 1944 did that, and may we. Peace is secured only through strength, and it's strength on both sides of the Atlantic, fortified by readiness, shared military capabilities, and an unwavering political will.
Migration has become a major political issue across Europe, with parties supporting hardline immigration policies surging in polls. The Trump administration sees an immigration crackdown as a key part of its domestic policy agenda, requesting billions more in funding for enforcement agencies. Hegseth's comments mark a further criticism of European migration policy by senior members of the Trump administration. On Friday, U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance blamed the death of the 18-year-old British student Henry Nowak, who was fatally stabbed last year in Southampton by Bikram Digwa, on the mass invasion of migrants into the country. Japan's Ground Self-Defense Force has unveiled a launcher used for hypervelocity gliding projectiles, or HVGPs, for the first time since their deployment earlier this year. SBGPs are a kind of extended-range missile that can be used as part of Japan's counter-strike capabilities. The missiles have a range of several hundred kilometers. Their warheads are designed to glide through the air at supersonic speed and are considered to be more difficult to intercept than conventional missiles. Type 25 SBGPs have been deployed at the Camp Fuji. Civic groups staged protest when the deployment started back in March. This year's Fuji firepower exercise, the 68th of its kind, was based on a scenario of defending a remote island. It included firing drills by tanks and intelligence gathering using drones. Unmanned vehicles under development are also used. The exercise is expected to consume a total of around 69.5 tons of ammunition worth around 820 million yen, or $5.1 million. Hundreds of supporters of the Cockroach Janata Party (CJP), a satirical social media movement, gathered in New Delhi on Saturday to protest alleged irregularities in India's major competitive examinations. Demonstrators wearing paper cockroach masks demanded the resignation of Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan over question paper leaks and technical failures in national exams. The protest follows the cancellation of a nationwide medical college entrance examination after investigators uncovered a paper leak, sparking widespread criticism and concern among the students. The movement, which has attracted millions of online followers, was led by Abhijit Dipke, a Boston University graduate who arrived from the United States to join the demonstrations. CJP emerged after reports that Chief Justice Suryakanta compared government critics to cockroaches and parasites during a court hearing, triggering backlash among young Indians. The event, which featured staged elements and props resembling the cockroaches, has raised questions about novelty party trends and their growing popularity among young people seeking attention on digital platforms. The incident also highlights the growing influence of viral culture in India's social scene, where unconventional party concepts are increasingly designed for online visibility. Russia has unveiled a new amusement ride in St. Petersburg named Oreshnik, drawing attention for its association with the country's hypersonic missile system capable of carrying nuclear warheads.
The attraction takes its name from the Oreshnik missile, which Russian officials have promoted as one of the country's most advanced weapons. The missile is reported to travel at speeds of up to 10 times the speed of sound and has been used by Russia against Ukraine on at least 3 occasions since its introduction. The naming of the ride highlights the growing presence of military symbolism in Russian public life amid the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. While amusement parks often use themes linked to speed and technology, the decision to name a ride after a missile associated with active military operations has drawn attention both inside and outside Russia. The launch of the Oreshnik attraction comes as Moscow continues to showcase its military capabilities, with the hypersonic missile frequently featured in official statements and state media as a symbol of Russia's strategic strength.
A year after issuing its first ocean forecasting AI system, Chinese scientists on Saturday rolled out Langya 2.0, a major upgrade that moves beyond basic sea variables to predict complex marine phenomena, including typhoons, extreme rainfall, and storm surges. The new model was unveiled at the ongoing 4th China Digital Earth Conference in Qingdao, a coastal city of East China's Shandong province. Developed by the Institute of Oceanology under the Chinese Academy of Sciences (IOCAS), Langya 2.0 marks a leap from global ocean state forecasting to intelligent prediction of complex marine phenomena, making ocean forecasts perceptible, actionable, and decision-ready, according to Wang Fan, president of IOCAS. It will provide intelligent support for marine disaster prevention, shipping safety, polar navigation, and climate response. The upgraded system now predicts 6 key marine phenomena: typhoons, extreme rainfall, storm surges, internal solitary waves, mesoscale eddies, and sea ice. It does so via 6 specialized vertical submodels, each trained on unique data sets and physical mechanisms. It forecasts their evolution over the following 30 days and allows users to query speed, amplitude, and other key parameters for the coming week, according to the research team.
A dense blanket of fog has enveloped the Black Sea coastline in Turkey's Kastamonu province, creating dramatic conditions along the Adana district as sunrise illuminated the landscape. As daylight broke, the rising sun cast warm hues across the fog-covered waters, producing breathtaking views over the shoreline. Aerial footage captured the district's landmark Hakiveli rocks emerging through the dense fog, while the surrounding coastal forest added to the dramatic landscape. The fog gradually began to lift as temperatures rose later in the morning, revealing the coastline beneath. The phenomenon highlighted the unique atmospheric conditions that can occur along the Black Sea, creating spectacular vistas visible from both land and air. The rare combination of thick sea fog and sunrise offered a remarkable display of nature along the Black Sea coast, drawing attention to the region's scenic beauty.
The world's coastal mangrove forests, which protect millions of people from storms and soak up vast amounts of planet-warming gases, are staging an unexpected comeback, scientists find. For decades, these swampy trees had been declining rapidly as they were cleared for fish farms and housing. But a new study shows that since 2010, the world has been gaining more mangroves than it had been losing, driven by stronger legal protections and increased public awareness of their importance, sparked by disasters such as the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami. The researchers say the key factor, though, is the remarkable capacity of these forests to regenerate naturally once humans stop chopping them down. Mangroves are one of the world's unsung environmental heroes. Not only do they store up to 5 times more carbon dioxide than land-based forests, but their tangled roots can also slow down waves and protect coastal communities from storm surges and tsunamis. These same roots provide a perfect nursery for many species of fish and other marine life, protecting them from predators and providing ample food. These benefits, though, have come under serious threat over the past century as the rise of fish farming, agriculture, and the expansion of coastal cities and towns have seen mangroves chopped down and rapidly removed. However, the new study shows a real reversal of the trend, particularly over the last decade.
Competitors clutching hobby horses sprinted, leaped over hurdles, and performed intricate equestrian-style routines as the first ever European Hobby Horsing Championship held in Prague, marking a significant milestone for a sport that has grown from a niche pastime into an internationally organized competition. The one-day championship brought together 243 athletes from 11 countries who competed in a range of disciplines traditionally associated with equestrian sports, including dressage, Western trail, and show jumping. Participants demonstrated carefully choreographed movements while carrying stick horses, showcasing athleticism, precision, and creativity before spectators and judges. Hobby horsing originated in Finland in the early 2000s as an accessible and affordable alternative to horse riding, allowing enthusiasts to engage in equestrian-inspired activities without a high cost associated with owning or caring for horses. The championship in Prague reflects the rapid growth and professionalization of hobby horsing, with competitors training extensively to master jumping techniques, choreography, and event-specific skills. Organizers said the event aimed to promote international cooperation within the hobby horsing community while providing athletes with a high-level competitive platform.
A Vietnamese artist is redefining traditional origami by incorporating dough paper, a centuries-old material deeply rooted in Vietnam's cultural heritage, into intricate paper folding artworks. Artist Nguyen Nam Son has been creating highly detailed origami sculptures, including complex designs such as dragons featuring horns, claws, scales, and other lifelike elements that appear almost sculptural rather than paper-based. He says that while Japan uses washi and Korea uses hanji, Vietnam's dough paper offers similar strength and flexibility, allowing folds to hold firmly and enabling more detailed artistic expression after extensive experimentation. Son has also been conducting workshops to introduce participants to dough paper and its properties, promoting awareness of traditional Vietnamese craft through hands-on experience. Some of his works have gained international recognition, including awards in South Korea and exhibitions in Spain, highlighting growing global interest in culturally adapted contemporary origami.
Animals at the Guadalajara Zoo have once again been enlisted to predict the outcomes of international football matches, with zoo officials unveiling a series of forecasts ahead of upcoming World Cup fixtures. According to zoo veterinarian Ivan Reynoso, several species participated in the predictions by choosing between food offerings representing competing teams. The selections produced a range of results, with elephants favoring Mexico to defeat South Africa, gorillas backing Uruguay over Spain, a puma predicting a victory for South Korea against the Czech Republic, and giraffes choosing the Republic of the Congo to overcome Colombia. The forecasts are part of a long-running tradition in which zoos around the world use animals' behavior to generate public interest around major sporting events. Such predictions gained international prominence during the 2010 FIFA World Cup, when an octopus in Germany correctly forecast the outcomes of several high-profile matches, sparking similar initiatives at zoological parks globally. While the animal selections carry no scientific basis and are intended purely for entertainment, the event has attracted considerable public attention and generated excitement among football fans following the tournament. Zoo staff noted that visitors often return to compare the animals' forecast with actual match results, adding an element of light-hearted competition to the sporting spectacle. The latest predictions come as anticipation builds around key World Cup fixtures, with supporters eager to see whether the zoo's animal forecasters can replicate the surprising success achieved by similar prediction events in previous international tournaments.
The Fez Festival of World Sacred Music is honoring Morocco's master craftsmen, recognizing their long-standing role in preserving and transmitting the country's rich cultural heritage across generations. Held under the theme Fez and its master craftsmen, guardians of heritage, the festival highlights the importance of traditional artisans in safeguarding ancestral knowledge, intricate craftsmanship, and the architectural identity of the kingdom. Organizers say the event aims to shine a spotlight on the cultural significance of artisan communities whose skills continue to shape Fez's historic character, from woodwork and metalwork to tile art and architectural restoration. Cultural experts and participants at the festival emphasized that these crafts are not only artistic expressions but also living heritage systems that connect Morocco's past with its present. The celebration underscores ongoing efforts to preserve traditional skills at a time when modernization and urban change pose challenges to the survival of centuries-old artisanal practices.
Welcome to the new episode of The Hinterlands on NTV World. This weekly show brings together stories from the hinterlands of Nepal, takes you beyond the cities and highways into the heart of Nepal's rural landscapes. I am Rosina Rai and we will be leading you into this journey every week. Tonight on The Hinterlands, we bring you stories from across the country, ranging from the towering Himalayas to disputed borderlands and forgotten heritage sites across the country. We begin with the 76th anniversary of the first ascent of Annapurna First, followed by concerns from the Susta border region, a neglected archaeological site in Bhojpur, the historic Panchdeval in Dailik, awaiting preservation, and an inspiring story of a returnee migrant turning to successful fish farming in Kanchanpur. We begin with one of the most majestic and formidable peaks on earth, Annapurna First. Long before Mount Everest was first summited, Annapurna First became the first 8,000-meter peak climbed by humans, marking a historic milestone in global mountaineering. This year marks the 76th anniversary of that first ascent, one of the world's most challenging and dangerous mountains. To mark the occasion, the 6th Annapurna Marathon was held under the slogan, Tourism for All Seasons, organized by the Annapurna Century Tourism Committee. June 3rd, 2026 marked the 76th anniversary of the first successful ascent of Annapurna First. This is considered as a significant milestone in global mountaineering history. One of Nepal's premier trekking destinations, the Annapurna Himalayan range rises to an altitude of 4,130 meters and attracts both domestic and international trekkers throughout the year. The peak was first successfully climbed on June 3, 1950 by French mountaineers Maurice Ozouk and Louis Lacanel, making it the first 8,000-meter summit ever conquered even before Mount Everest. According to the Department of Tourism, over 536 climbers have reached the summit so far. Marking the anniversary occasion, the 6th Annapurna Marathon was organized under the slogan Tourism for All Seasons by the Annapurna Century Tourism Community. The race route stretched from Annapurna Base Camp through Machapustre Base Camp, Bagar, Deurali, Himalaya, Chomrong and Kimrong Khola before concluding at Khandruk. Athletes from Jumla dominated the competition, sweeping both the men's and women's categories. In the women's section, Manju Rawat claimed gold, followed by Rajya Lakshmi Rawal and Kalpana Bura, completing a clean sweep for Jumla. In men's category, Dal Bahadur Kunwar secured first place with an improved performance, while Tilak Bahadur Sunwar of the Nepal Army finished second and local runner Sachin Gurung came third in the competition. Moving to the western plains of Nepal, residents of Susta in Navalparasi have expressed concern after reports that Indian authorities obstructed the river control works intended to protect the area from flooding. With the monsoon season approaching, delays in embankment construction along the Narayani River have heightened fears of flooding and river erosion in this highly sensitive border region. Authorities and locals are urging timely intervention to ensure the safety of settlements along the riverbank. A report.
Construction of an embankment is currently underway along nearly 1 kilometer of the Narayani River in Susta, a historically significant Nepali territory located across the river. The federal government has allocated nearly 120 million rupees for the project to protect the area from riverbank erosion and seasonal flooding. However, plans to begin additional river control work about 132 meters from the current embankment site have been put on hold after objections from the Indian side. Although a contract for the extension has already been signed, local officials say work could not proceed after Indian authorities requested that construction be stopped.
सुस्ताको अपर पार्टमा चाहिँ थोरै चाहिँ बाँकी थियो हाम्रो काम गर्नलाई अनि त्यो सँगै अब हामीलाई अलिकति रिस्क हुन्छ भनेर हामीले आयोजनले चाहिँ सानो ठेक्का निकालिकन अब हजुरको सम्झौता गरेर हामीले काम अगाडि बढाउँदै गर्दाखेरि अब भारतीय पक्षले चाहिँ उहाँहरूले चाहिँ यो विवादित सीमामा चाहिँ हामी काम गर्न दिन्नौं भन्ने हिसाबले उहाँहरूले अलिकति इस्यु उठाएको हुनाले त्यो कामलाई चाहिँ हामीले अगाडि बढाउन नसकेको अवस्था छ।
Despite discussions between border security officials from both countries on Sunday, the Indian side reportedly maintained that the area is disputed and that no construction should take place without mutual agreement. Chief District Officer Deepak Raj Nepal said the matter has been reported to Nepal's Ministry of Home Affairs, adding that India has argued that any work in the area should move forward only through bilateral consensus.
यहाँ ठेक्का लागेको ठाउँमा अब निर्माण कार्य अहिलेसम्म सुरु भएको छैन। निर्माण कार्य सुरु गर्नको लागि खास गरेर हिजो हाम्रो सशस्त्र को टिम र इन्डियाको एसएसबी टिमले अब बोर्डर निरीक्षणको क्रममा पनि नयाँ निर्माणको लागि अब दुवै पक्षबाट चाहिँ एउटा सहमति भए पश्चात चाहिँ गर्नलाई उपयुक्त हुन्छ भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ उहाँहरूले राख्नु भएको छ।
According to local residents, India has obstructed the project, claiming that the embankment falls within a disputed zone. Of Susta's total area of 40,980 hectares, around 14,000 hectares are said to have been encroached upon, while another 19,400 hectares remain under dispute, thus limiting local access and use. However, Rabindra Jaiswal, spokesperson for the Susta Protection Campaign, insists that the embankment is being built on Nepali territory and warns that failure to complete the project could put the very existence of Susta at risk.
यो जुन अहिले काम भइरहेको छ नि त्यो लगभग 14 करोड काम 3 महिनादेखि त्यो काम भएर पनि जुन अहिले थप 132 मिटर काम भएन भने जुन एसएसबीहरुले भारतीय पक्षले अवरोध गरेको छ भने त्यो सुस्ताको भूमि हामी जोगाउन सक्दैनौं किनकि त्यहीबाट नदी नजिक आइसकेको छ त्यहाँबाट नदी भित्र छिर्छ त्यसपछि पुरै सुस्ता सका पार्छ।
With the monsoon season just around the corner, local residents fear that any further delay in the river control project could leave Susta increasingly vulnerable to flooding and erosion. The dispute has once again highlighted the challenges of managing infrastructure and disaster prevention efforts in sensitive border areas.
Now turning to eastern Nepal, where rich archaeological heritage sites outside major tourist routes often remain overlooked and neglected. One such site is the Chulachuli cave located in Diteni Dalgaon of Ram Prasad Rai Rural Municipality in Bhojpur district. Despite its historical and cultural significance, the site has received little conservation attention and continues to await official recognition and preservation efforts.
The Chulachuli cave in Diteni, Dalgaon of Ram Prasad Rai Rural Municipality Ward 4 has been left in limbo for many years. As a result, the historic place is overshadowed in recent times. Despite ongoing conservation and development efforts by the local government, The site is poorly known due to insufficient promotion. This place carries the legacy of ancient archaeological standings that include various images of deities which can be seen carved in the stones here. There is a religious belief among the locals that wishes are fulfilled upon visiting religiously significant place known as Chulachuli Cave. Locals lament geographic remoteness and lack of promotion have prevented it to gain not only state recognition but also failing to gain global momentum.
यो प्राकृतिक हिसाबले दिएको संरचनाहरू चाहिँ जस्तो यहाँ तलतिर गएर ढोलहरू बजाउन सकिन्छ चाहिँ गाईको दुध थुनहरू चाहिँ यहाँनेर खोज्दै जाँदा भेट्न गएको कुराहरू यो प्राकृतिक बनावट नै छ त्यस हिसाबले पनि यो आकर्षक छ र यो प्रचार प्रसारको कमीमा यो अलिकति ओझेल हुन गएको हो कि भन्ने हामीलाई चाहिँ लागेको छ
हामी भन्दा अग्रज हाम्रा बुढापाकाहरूले भने अनुसार यसलाई चाहिँ सानो हलेसी पनि भन्ने गरिन्थ्यो तत्कालीन समयमा.
Spread across approximately 2 ropani of land on a hilltop, the stones here are carved like riverbed boulders. Inside the cave, alongside statues of Lord Shiva and various deities, are carvings resembling an elephant's trunk, a cow's udder, and a serpent, according to local experts. Rural Municipality Chair Tham Bahadur Rai stated that conservation work and construction of various structures are underway under the Nepal Climate Adaptation Model Program. A detailed project report, DPR, is being prepared for broader development of the area, he said.
चुलाचुली गुफा अहिलेसम्म प्रचारको हिसाबले एकदमै पछि परेको गुफा हो. चुलाचुली गुफादेखि हामी माथि भुल्केको माथि डाँडाखर्क हुँदै बागबुङ पदमार्ग र त्यहाँदेखि उता पापमाकाम गढी जोड्दै नाक्साका हुँदै हाम्रो गोलमा राजा गोलमा रानीको एउटा रेन्जलाई चाहिँ हामीले आन्तरिक पर्यटनको रूपमा विकास गर्नको निम्ति यसको डिपिआर पनि भएको छ.
Addressing the issue, the rural municipality says it is putting effort in order to develop this religious and tourist destination within its jurisdiction, implementing a master plan.
Similar concern is seen in mid-western Nepal, where the historic Panchadewal complex in Dailek stands as a remarkable example of stone architecture. The site features 22 standing Sikhara-style temples, believed to date back to the 11th century, making it a significant cultural and archaeological landmark. Local authorities, along with the Department of Archaeology, have recently begun efforts to preserve and promote this site at a global level. The historic Panchadewal area in Dailek district of western Nepal carries the legacy of the ancient Sinja kingdom, reflecting the rich heritage and bravery of Karnali province. Located in Bhurti village of Ward number 6 in Narayan municipality, the site features 22 standing Sikhara-style monuments that attracts thousands of visitors every year. However, the area remained neglected for a long and was in urgent need of restoration. In a significant step in coordination with the local government and the Department of Archaeology, preparations have begun to declare the site as a protected heritage area. As many such heritage structures in Dailek continue to face the threat of deterioration due to inadequate conservation efforts. Believed to have been constructed around the 11th century, the Panchadewal complex, a remarkable example of ancient architecture, was recommended by UNESCO for inclusion in the World Heritage List in 2008. Despite this recognition, little substantial conservation work was carried out for many years. After an 18-year gap, a team led by the Director General of the Department of Archaeology conducted a field inspection. Ward Chairperson of Narayan Municipality, Janak Neupane, stated that the local government is committed to fulfilling all necessary criteria to advance the campaign for listing Panchadewal as a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
क्षेत्रका मान्छेहरूसँग सहयोगको पुनः अपेक्षा गर्ने र हामी चाहिँ नै एकताबद्ध भएर यो सम्पदा सूचीका इन्डिकेटरहरू के हुन् ती सबै इन्डिकेटरहरू नागरिकको तहबाट स्थानीय सरकारको तहबाट पूरा गर्ने प्रतिबद्धता भन्नु।
There are more than 60 such historic devils and stone pillars within Narayan municipality alone. While some lie on private land, many have already been damaged or lost due to a lack of proper preservation efforts. And finally, a story that reflects resilience and opportunity at home. Amid rising labor migration trends, some returning workers are proving that meaningful livelihoods can still be created within the country. One such example is Bijay Chaudhary from Kanchanpur, a former migrant worker in the Gulf who has now transformed himself into an award-winning fish farmer, building a successful enterprise back home.
विदेश जानु जरुरत पनि छैन सर। चाहे जुनसुकै व्यवसाय भए पनि तपाईँ माछा पालन, गाई पालन, भैँसी पालन, बङ्गुर पालन, बाख्रा पालन जुनसुकै व्यवसाय यदि राम्रो तरिकाले गरियो भने युवाहरू जस्तै हामी विदेशमा 12 घण्टा 24 घण्टा नन स्टप चाहिँ त्यो त्यत्रो गर्मीमा हामी काम गरिरहेको त्यही हाम्रो यो मरुभूमि हामी नेपालमै त्यस्तो नेपाल सरकारले पनि अलिकति व्यवस्था गरिदियो भने त्यो हामी यही पानी र माटोमा सुन फलाउन सकिन्छ।
Like many Nepali youths, Bijay Chaudhary once believed that foreign employment was the only path to a better future. Driven by financial hardship and a dream of supporting his family, he spent 4 years working in the Gulf. But life abroad failed to give him the sense of purpose he was searching for. After returning home to Lalchari rural municipality in Kanchanpur, Chaudhary made a bold decision. Instead of living again, he chose to invest in Nepal. With limited savings and a strong determination, he started fish farming 6 years ago. What began as a small-scale venture has now grown into a successful and sustainable business. Today, fish farming is not only supporting his family financially, but also creating hope within his community. His success has inspired many local youths to rethink foreign employment and explore opportunities in agriculture and entrepreneurship at home. Recognizing his contribution, the government of Nepal recently honored Chaudhary as an outstanding farmer.
भूरा व्यवस्थापनमा धेरै खर्च हुन्छ सर। दाना र त्यो भूरामा र हामी प्रति कट्ठा 300 को दरले व्यवस्थापन गर्छौं भूरा र त्यसको दाना र पानी मल खाद मिलाएर मोटामोटी हामीले यो उसबाट 2.5 बिघाबाट लगभग 40 देखि 45 क्विन्टल सम्म माछा बिक्री वितरण गर्छौं र त्यो बराबरको त्यो व्यवस्थापनमा लगभग 6-7 देखि खर्च आउँछ हाम्रो र त्यो कटाएर 7-8 लाख जति वार्षिक हामी।
A demand for fish continues to grow in local markets. Chaudhary is steadily expanding his business. With that inspiring note, we came to the end of this episode of The Hinterlands. Thank you for staying with us. We will see you again next week with more stories from across Nepal's hinterlands. Do follow us on our website, nepaltelevision.com, social media handles, and the YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye for now.
This is The World This Week, your weekly roundup of the latest international events and updates. This is me, Bhavna Casey, and in this edition, we bring you the stories making headlines across the globe. From high-stakes meet to major political developments, geopolitical tensions, cultural celebrations, and remarkable feats. We have all that you need. Let's begin with developments on the Middle East crisis, where tensions continue across Gaza, Lebanon, Israel and Iran amid ongoing conflict and halted diplomacy. Fighting and political tensions involving Gaza, Lebanon, Israel, Iran and other regional actors remain at the center of global attention, with continued military operations, humanitarian challenges and diplomatic efforts still failing to produce a fruitful settlement. The Middle East continues to remain at the center of the global attention as the violence, humanitarian concerns and diplomatic tensions continue across Gaza, Lebanon, Israel and Iran. Tensions along the Israel-Lebanon border have intensified. A U.S.-brokered ceasefire agreement between Israel and Lebanon has faced major obstacles after Hezbollah rejected key terms of the deal. Israeli forces have continued operations in southern Lebanon while cross-border attacks and security concerns persist. Iran also remains deeply involved in regional developments. Tehran has warned that continued military actions in Gaza and Lebanon could undermine the ongoing diplomatic efforts. Negotiations between Iran and the United States have stalled, raising concerns about broader regional stability and the future of security arrangements in the Gulf. The continuing conflict has also affected global energy markets. Uncertainty surrounding the Strait of Hormuz and broader regional security has contributed to concerns about well supplies and international trade. While in Gaza, military operations and airstrikes have continued despite repeated calls for a lasting ceasefire. Humanitarian agencies have warned that civilians are facing severe shortages of food, medicine, and basic services, while reconstruction efforts remain largely halted. Reports indicate that fighting and instability continue to affect large parts of the territory, and as fighting continues on several fronts, millions of civilians across the region remain caught between conflict, displacement, and economic hardship. In the United States, divisions over the Iran conflict are deepening as the House of Representatives moves to curb President Donald Trump's war powers.
The U.S. House of Representatives has passed a measure that seeks to halt President Donald Trump from taking further military action in Iran. The 215 to 208 vote, which is largely symbolic, was successful after 4 Republicans joined Democrats in a public show of disapproval of the war, which began in February.
On this vote, the yeas are 215 and the nays are 208. The concurrent resolution is adopted.
The vote was to adopt the War Powers Resolution, which requires Trump to withdraw U.S. forces or seek congressional approval for the conflict. It is unclear how much legal force this House measures would have. The White House has dismissed the merits of the resolution, saying it is an unconstitutional attempt to restrict presidential power. But its passing is significant because it adds to the pressure on the White House to find an end to the Iran war, as petrol prices have spiked and public opposition to the war has increased. This was the 4th attempt by the House to rein in Trump's war powers. The Senate advanced a similar resolution in May, but has yet to hold a full floor vote. The vote also marked the latest sign of division within Trump's Republican Party, coming just days after a revolt by conservatives in Congress led his administration to pull back plans for $1.8 billion anti-weaponization funds for political allies.
In Europe, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has renewed calls for direct talks with Vladimir Putin in a bid to end the Russia-Ukraine war.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has called for a face-to-face meeting between himself and Vladimir Putin in a renewed bid to end the war. In an open letter to the Russian president, the Ukrainian leader said it would be wrong to simply wait until the war in Europe becomes the focus of the US's attention once more, adding peace could only come through direct engagement between Ukraine and Russia. The Kremlin confirmed it had received the letter and Putin would be briefed on it. The tone of the letter was defiant, even mocking, drawing attention to Ukraine's recent strikes on Russian territory. Zelensky stated that after 26 years in power, age is beginning to take its toll on Putin. Putin said he was certainly prepared and willing to reach an agreement with Ukraine, but said compromises needed to be made. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump says it would be great for Vladimir Zelensky to meet Vladimir Putin after the Ukrainian president proposed face-to-face talks with the Russian leader.
Well, I don't know. I'm glad that they're maybe talking about meeting. I think we had a lot to do with it. I know exactly what you're doing. But I think it would be great if they met. They should get it done.
Meanwhile, Putin suggested that as Trump was busy with Iran, the EU could talk Zelensky into surrendering territory. Putin's long-standing position has been that Ukraine should withdraw from 4 regions largely occupied by Russia: Donetsk, Luhansk, Kherson, and Zaporizhia, and give up its efforts to join NATO. Ukraine has ruled out ceding territory, saying it would embolden Russia to invade again, as it had in 2022 when it launched its full-scale war 8 years after illegally annexing Crimea. Ceasefire negotiations have stalled in recent months, and previous peace talks in Geneva, Abu Dhabi, and Istanbul have failed.
In South Asia, India's central bank has left interest rates unchanged despite the Middle East conflict threatening to stoke inflation and heap pressure on a weak rupee. The Reserve Bank of India held its policy rate steady and unveiled steps to pull in dollars, seeking to shore up an embattled rupee as the economy grapples with costly wealth and foreign outflows. The measures include scrapping capital gains tax for foreign holders of government bonds, sweetening dollar deposit schemes for non-resident Indians, and subsidizing hazing costs for offshore borrowing. Governor Sanjay Malhotra, while announcing the policy decision, said RBI's rate panel voted unanimously to keep the policy repo rate unchanged at 5.25%.
After a detailed assessment of the evolving macroeconomic and financial developments and the outlook, the MPC voted unanimously to keep the policy repo rate under the LAF unchanged at 5.25%.
Malhotra further said the panel felt it was prudent to wait until greater clarity emerges.
Although risks of higher inflation have amplified, the MPC felt it would be prudent to wait for greater clarity to emerge.
Surge in crude prices and record foreign fund outflows have pushed the rupee down nearly 5% to historic lows since the Middle East conflict erupted late in February, fueling calls from some analysts for higher rates to defend the currency. Indonesia, the Philippines, and Sri Lanka have raised interest rates in recent weeks, while South Korea has held fire but signaled a turn is imminent. As the world marked World Environment Day, climate experts are warning that a developing El Niño could trigger more extreme weather, including heat waves, droughts, and floods across the globe. Experts forecast that the developing El Niño in the tropical Pacific Ocean could be one of the strongest on record, increasing the likelihood of global weather disruptions. Meteorological agencies and climate researchers say rising ocean temperatures linked to the phenomenon are likely to intensify global heat waves, prolong drought conditions in vulnerable areas, and trigger heavier rainfall and flooding elsewhere. Scientists have cautioned that the weather system could place additional pressure on food production, water supplies, and energy networks already strained by climate change. El Niño occurs when sea surface temperatures in the central and eastern Pacific Ocean rise above normal levels, disrupting atmospheric circulation and altering weather patterns worldwide. Previous strong El Niño events have been associated with severe flooding in parts of South America, droughts in Australia, Southeast Asia, and South Asia, and record-breaking global temperatures. Forecasters say current ocean warming trends indicate the developing system may rival some of the most powerful El Niño episodes recorded in recent decades. The warning comes as several countries continue to experience unusually high temperatures and increasingly erratic seasonal weather conditions. A record number of climbers have reached the summit of Mount Everest this season as the climbing season comes to an end. The season has drawn global attention due to concerns over overcrowding, record-breaking ascents, and a dramatic survival rescue near the base camp. A record number of climbers have reached the summit of Mount Everest this season, officials say, as the climbing window draws to a close with multiple record-breaking ascents. Nepal government's officials report that more than 900 climbers have reached the world's tallest peak, taking advantage of favorable weather conditions. Veteran Nepali climber Kamirita Sherpa, who recently completed a record 30-second summit of Everest, has renewed concerns about overcrowding on the mountain, saying this season felt a bit crowded and calling for stricter limits on climber numbers and higher expedition standards. Lakpa Sherpa, known as the Mountain Queen, set a women's record with her 11th summit, further highlighting a season marked by historic achievements. In a separate incident, a Nepali climbing guide who had been missing on Everest for 6 days and feared dead was found alive after crawling alone back towards the base camp. Dawa Sherpa was last seen above Camp 3 at around 7,500 meters height while coming down from the mountain after summiting. Hopes for his survival were slim as the air at that altitude is thin, but on Thursday, a clearing crew spotted the experienced climber who had frostbite on his hands but appeared to be in good condition, sliding slowly down. Meanwhile, 5 persons have died so far during this year's climbing season. 3 of them are Nepalis who were involved in the Everest expedition preparations. China's Zhangzhou 2 crew has returned safely to the Earth after an extended 7-month mission aboard the Tiangong space station following a disrupted rotation cycle.
China's Shenzhou 21 crew has returned safely to Earth aboard the Shenzhou 22 after spending around 7 months in orbit aboard the Tiangong space station, a longer stay than the usual 6-month rotation for crews. In recent years, missions to China's space station have typically followed a steady rhythm, with teams of 3 astronauts rotating in and out roughly every half year to maintain continuous operation and scientific work on the station. However, this mission cycle was disrupted after a suspected space debris impact damaged the return capsule of Shenzhou 20, making it unsafe for re-entry. In response, China launched the uncrewed Shenzhou 22 late last year on an urgent replacement mission to ensure a safe return option for the stranded crew, who were later brought back using Shenzhou 21. More recently, Shenzhou 23 was launched on May 24 with a new team of 3 astronauts, continuing the station's ongoing rotation schedule and restoring the regular cadence of crew handovers. The sequence of missions highlights both the risks of orbital debris and the flexibility of China's rapid response space operations.
Eid al-Adha celebrations in Bangladesh took a surprising turn after a viral albino buffalo nicknamed Donald Trump for its unusual appearance was spared from sacrifice and instead sent to the National Zoo following widespread public attention. A buffalo in Bangladesh nicknamed Donald Trump because of its unusual flowing blonde hair has been spared from sacrifice after gaining widespread attention. The 700-kilogram buffalo is a rare albino buffalo with a thick pale tuft of hair that naturally forms a helmet-like style, closely resembling the distinctive hairstyle of Donald Trump. The animal was originally said to be slaughtered for Eid al-Adha, a religious festival where animals are traditionally sacrificed and the meat shared among family and those in need. However, after photos and videos of the buffalo went viral, public interest grew and calls to protect it increased. As a result, authorities decided to spare the buffalo. Instead of being sacrificed, it will now be cared at the National Zoo, where it will be kept under supervision and maintained as part of the country's animal collection. The case has drawn attention both locally and online, highlighting how an animal's unusual appearance and viral fame can change its fate. More than 1,800 people named O'Sullivan or Sullivan gathered in Ireland, setting a Guinness World Record for the largest assembly of people sharing the same surname and celebrating their shared heritage.
Over 1,800 people named O'Sullivan or Sullivan from across Ireland and around the world gathered in Castletownbere, County Cork, to break the Guinness World Record for the largest assembly of people sharing the same surname. The record, officially verified by Guinness, was previously held by a gathering of Gallaghers, also in Ireland. The event featured live music, traditional food, and family activities, drawing participants of all ages who travelled from as far as the United States, Australia, and Canada. Organizers said the gathering was not only about setting a record, but also celebrating the rich history and heritage of the O'Sullivan clan. Officials praised the community spirit, calling the event a remarkable testament to the bonds of family and culture. The successful record attempt is expected to boost tourism and strengthen connections among members of the global Irish diaspora. Participants described the occasion as a once-in-a-lifetime celebration of identity, ancestry, and community pride.
Thousands of spectators gathered on Hong Kong's island as the annual Bon Festival reached its climax, with finalists climbing a 14-meter-tall tower covered in thousands of buns in the traditional Bon scrambling competition. The annual Bon Festival has been held in Hong Kong, where 12 finalists competed in the traditional Bon scrambling competition by climbing a 14-meter-high tower covered with around 9,000 plastic steamed buns. The competition, regarded as the highlight of the centuries-old festival, drew thousands of spectators to the island as contestants raced against the clock to collect the highest-scoring buns placed near the top of the structure. Organizers said the event was conducted under strict safety supervision, with emergency crews and crowd control teams deployed throughout the venue. The cultural celebration, one of Hong Kong's most recognized folk festivals, also featured line dances, light displays, parades, and community performances, creating a festive atmosphere across the island. Rooted in Taoist traditions, the Bon Festival is held annually to mark prayers for peace, prosperity, and protection from misfortune. The event has also become a major tourism attraction in Hong Kong, blending religious customs with large-scale public festivities and drawing global attention for its unique Bon climbing contest. Hundreds of Sri Lankan Buddhists mark Baishak, one of Buddhism's most sacred festivals, with prayers, offerings, and sermons celebrating the birth, enlightenment, and passing of Gautama Buddha.
Hundreds of Sri Lankan Buddhists have gathered at the Kelaniya Buddhist temple to mark Vesak, one of the most sacred festivals in Buddhism. The occasion commemorates the birth, enlightenment, and passing of the Buddha, making it a deeply significant spiritual event for devotees across the country. Worshippers dressed in white took part in religious observances, prayers, and offerings at the temple, while monks delivered sermons reflecting on compassion, mindfulness, and the teachings of the Buddha. The atmosphere was both devotional and celebratory, with large crowds moving through the temple grounds throughout the day. In other parts of the city, streets and public spaces were transformed with colorful lanterns, illuminated displays, and decorative pandals depicting scenes from Buddhist stories. These vibrant displays are a long-standing Vesak tradition in Sri Lanka, symbolizing light, peace, and the sharing of the Buddha's message with the wider community.
The International Fireworks Festival has opened in Vietnam, kicking off a series of global competitions as teams from around the world light up the Han River with synchronized displays of music and fireworks.
The opening night of the Da Nang International Fireworks Festival has officially begun. Recognized by Travel Plus Leisure magazine as one of the 9 most worthwhile summer festivals on the planet, this year's Da Nang International Fireworks Festival promises a dramatic season with the participation of 10 competing teams from around the world. Vietnam and China are the 2 opening teams, while the Vietnam team aims to transform the Han River into a space that tells the story of the vibrant city through light. The Chinese team presents a performance titled Flower of the Orient. The performance offers audiences a vibrant picture of life and the aspiration for connection between humankind and nature, taking them on a journey through masterpieces of light, music, and art. Following the opening night, the competitions will take place every Saturday evening.
Well, this brings us to the end of this episode of The World This Week. We hope you enjoyed as much as we did bringing it to you. Also, do follow us on our website www.nepaltelevision.com, our social media handles, as well as our YouTube channel. Till then, take care and bye-bye.
In the natural splendor, the silver-like peaks or the Himalayas glisten. Cradling a pond filled with milk in its lap, the Numbur Himal gleams. The Dudkunda, meaning a milk pond in Nepal's northeastern district of Solukhumbu, is truly the gateway to the paradise. The Numbur, Katang and Karyalung mountains seem to smile at all times. Adorned with a garland of colorful flowers, the Dudkunda is overflowing as if filled with milk. The very sight defines nature at its best. Feels as if the Numbur mountain is giving motherly affection, holding the lake in its lap. The beauty is so serene and virgin that one fears not to stain it by touching. Indeed, Dudkunda is nature at its purest form. Located at Solu Dudkunda municipality, Taksindu, the natural paradise draws many visitors. No matter how many words are spent describing it, they all feel inadequate upon reaching there. The name itself is fulfilling and equally sacred.
हजारौं नरनारीहरू चाहिँ तीर्थयात्रीहरू दुधकुण्डमा जानुभएको छ। म पनि पुगेर आएँ। दुधकुण्ड असाध्यै पवित्र स्थल, यो हिमाल काखमा रहेको तीर्थस्थल हो, पुण्यस्थल हो, देवस्थल हो र त्यहाँ चाहिँ एकचोटि पुग्नै पर्दो रहेछ। त्यहाँ पुगेर जुन आनन्दको अनुभूति हुन्छ त्यो चाहिँ कहीँ पनि पाइँदैन भन्ने चाहिँ महसुस भयो।
आनन्द लाग्यो, मस्त लाग्यो। अनि यो ठाउँमा चाहिँ आएर तपस्या गरेर बस्नु जस्तो लाग्यो मलाई।
एकदमै राम्रो लाग्यो हैन, प्रकृतिले दिएको रमणीय तीर्थस्थल हैन, जो कोही पनि एकचोटि चाहिँ यहाँ आएर एकचोटि भ्रमण गरेर दर्शन गर्नुपर्छ जस्तो लाग्यो।
Situated at an altitude of 4,531 meters above the sea level, Dudkunda is a sacred pilgrimage site of culture and nature. It feels like nature has blessed this place, and culturally, it has bound all castes and ethnicities in a thread of unity. There are various legends and sayings about Dudkunda. One argument is that the pond was formed during the creation of the Himalayas and was discovered by local sheep and yak herders. According to another legend, in ancient times, a yak would go to a stone where the pond is located and offer its milk every day. Later, the place was found to be a pond filled with milk, leading to its name, Dudkunda. This has also led to the belief that gods and goddesses reside here. There are 3 different routes to reach Dudkunda. One route is through Salleri, Faplu, Taksindu and Sasrabeni. Another route goes via Lukla, the gateway to the Everest, through Nunthala, Taksindu and Sahasrabeni. Nature has truly blessed the Solu Dudkunda municipality. Truly, just like
Nepal's foreign minister returns home concluding a 3-day official visit to India. Visit seen as effort to deepen bilateral relations. First General Convention of Nepal's ruling party underway in 28 districts. Provincial convention to be held from June 9. World Food Safety Day marked amid global health concerns. Nepal endorses commitment to stronger food hygiene systems. Europe migration debate resurfaces at D-Day event. U.S. defense chief criticizes border policies. North Korea reaffirms nuclear status ahead of high-level summit. Remarks come a day before Xi's planned visit to Pyongyang. And Nepal makes it to Asian Games qualifier final, registers 8-wicket victory over Oman. Good evening, I'm Bijata Bhandari and you're watching NTV World News Hour, coming to you live from Kathmandu at 2200 hours Nepal time. Now the news in detail. Nepal-India relations continued to feature a mix of expanding cooperation and unresolved sensitivities during recent diplomatic engagements. Foreign Minister Shishir Khanal has returned home after completing a 3-day official visit to New Delhi, where he held delegation-level talks with India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar on issues including development cooperation, connectivity, trade and transit, energy and people-to-people ties. During the visit, Khanal also met India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval and BJP Foreign Affairs Head Vijay Chauthaiwale to further strengthen strategic and political engagement. While analysts note that disputes such as Kalapani Lipu Lake remain sensitive, experts including former Ambassador Lokraj Baral say practical cooperation in areas like power transmission, railways, pipelines and trade could deliver immediate and tangible benefits to both countries. We will look more into this in our segment Issue of the Day later in the bulletin. Now, Nepal's opposition-oriented Rashtriya Swatantra Party (RSP) has conducted district-level conventions in 28 districts as part of preparations for its first national convention. The conventions were held across all 7 provinces, with party leaders emphasizing development, prosperity and good governance as key priorities. Speaking at the convention in Gorkha district, General Secretary Kabindra Burlakoti said the government should work collaboratively with all political parties to advance national development projects. The RSP plans to complete conventions in 67 of Nepal's 77 districts before its national gathering, while the remaining districts will hold conventions later. The party's first national convention is scheduled to take place in Chitwan from June 21st to June 23rd, 2026. Food safety continues to remain a major global public health concern as countries observe World Food Safety Day. In Nepal, Minister for Health and Food Hygiene Nisha Mehta reaffirmed the government's commitment to strengthening food safety systems to reduce the burden of foodborne diseases. She stressed the need for strict hygiene practices across the entire food chain, from production to consumption, along with improved agricultural, manufacturing and storage standards. The World Health Organization warns that unsafe food causes illness in around 600 million people and results in about 420,000 deaths worldwide each year. We will look more into this in our segment Cover Story of the Day later in the bulletin. Now, U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has criticized European nations over migration for allowing what he described as an invasion on their shores during a D-Day anniversary speech in France. Hegseth was speaking in Normandy 82 years after Allied forces stormed French beaches to liberate Nazi-occupied Europe in 1944.
Sadly, today, different European beaches are stormed by different dangerous ideologies. Beaches in Spain, in Italy, in Greece, and Bulgaria, boats and men arrive. When will European capitals do something about that invasion? Or is it too late? I pray not, and I believe not.
Migration has become a major political issue across Europe, with parties supporting hardline immigration policies surging in polls. In other news, Kim Yo-jong, the sister of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, said North Korea will never back down on its status as a nuclear-armed state, warning that it will not tolerate any threats, state media agency KCNA said today. Chinese President Xi Jinping is set to visit North Korea tomorrow for a summit, marking his first visit to the North in nearly 7 years, as Beijing looks to reinforce ties with Pyongyang, which is China's only formal treaty ally. Kim Yo-jong called claims by the United States that Xi and U.S. President Donald Trump confirmed a goal to denuclearize during a May summit as false, adding that it has the most accurate information regarding the claims. Earlier this week, North Korea unveiled a new nuclear material production factory, where its leader Kim called for an exponential expansion of the country's atomic arsenal. Analysts said the new uranium enrichment site appeared aimed at reinforcing North Korea's negotiating position ahead of the Xi-Kim summit, while justifying an acceleration of its nuclear buildup. Nepal delivered a dominant all-round performance to defeat Oman by 8 wickets in the first semi-final of the Asian Games men's qualifier, securing a place in the final. Batting first, Oman was bowled out for just 94 runs inside its allotted 20 overs after Nepal's disciplined bowling attack kept the batters under constant pressure. Chasing a modest target of 95, Nepal reached 95 runs at the loss of 2 wickets in just 9.2 overs, completing the chase with 64 balls to spare and sealing a comprehensive victory. Nepal's Karan Kesi was named player of the match for his match-winning performance, playing a crucial role in restricting Oman to a low total. With the emphatic win, Nepal advanced to the final and strengthened its bid for qualification to the Asian Games. Coming up next, a wrap-up of high-level talks between Nepal and India focused on connectivity, trade, energy and technology cooperation, with a long-standing issues such as the Kalapani-Lipulekh border dispute looming over. More on this later after this short break. Welcome back. You're watching NTV World News Hour. Now on to our Issue of the Day segment. Nepal's Foreign Minister Shishir Khanal has returned home after completing a 3-day official visit to India, aimed at strengthening bilateral cooperation between the two neighbors. During the visit, Minister Khanal held delegation-level talks with India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar in New Delhi, where both sides discussed development cooperation, connectivity expansion, trade and transit, energy collaboration, and people-to-people relations.
यस भ्रमणका क्रममा भएका छलफल र उच्च स्तरीय भेटघाटहरूले नेपाल र भारतको कूटनीतिक र आर्थिक सहकार्यलाई नयाँ उचाइमा पुर्याउनका साथै आगामी दिनमा आपसी हितका क्षेत्रहरूमा परिणाममुखी सहकार्य अघि बढाउने बलियो आधार तयार भएको मैले महसुस गरेको छु। हाम्रो सन्तुलित, स्वतन्त्र र बहुआयामिक परराष्ट्र नीतिलाई थप सशक्त ढङ्गले अभिव्यक्त गर्ने अवसर प्राप्त भएको छ। व्यापार तथा लगानी विस्तार गर्ने, ऊर्जा सहकार्य सुदृढ गर्ने, पर्यटन प्रवर्धन गर्ने तथा कनेक्टिभिटी र जनस्तरको सम्बन्ध अझ सशक्त बनाउने विषयहरूमा ठोस आधार तयार पारेको छ। क्षेत्रीय स्थायित्व, आपूर्ति श्रृङ्खला, सुरक्षा तथा ऊर्जा साझेदारी जस्ता समसामयिक अन्तर्राष्ट्रिय मुद्दाहरूमा समेत धारणा आदान प्रदान गरिएको छ।
Minister Khanal had travelled to India on an invitation from the Indian side to further enhance diplomatic engagement. While in New Delhi, the Foreign Minister also held separate meetings with India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval and Bharatiya Janata Party Foreign Affairs Department Head Vijay Chauthaiwale, focusing on strengthening strategic and political ties. The visit is seen as part of ongoing efforts to deepen Nepal-India relations across multiple sectors. Now, as Nepal and India seek to broaden cooperation beyond traditional areas of engagement, Foreign Minister Shishir Khanal's visit to New Delhi has underscored efforts by both neighbours to strengthen a partnership spanning development, connectivity, technology and economic integration. While long-standing issues remain on the bilateral agenda, the visit highlighted a shared commitment to deepening cooperation and advancing relations through dialogue and practical collaboration. Shiksha Bhattrai brings more.
Nepal and India have agreed to further deepen bilateral ties as Foreign Minister Shishir Khanal concluded his first official visit to India since the formation of Nepal's present government. During talks in New Delhi with Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, the two sides reviewed progress on ongoing projects and discussed cooperation in trade, connectivity, energy, development partnership, and people-to-people relations. The ministers also welcomed new areas of engagement, including innovation, startups, digital technology, and financial connectivity. A key outcome of the visit was the launch of cross-border digital payment system, linking Nepal's national payment interface and India's unified payments interface, aimed at making transactions between citizens of the two countries easier. The two sides also announced a partnership between Kathmandu University and Digital India Bhasini to jointly develop a voice-first language translation platform. Development cooperation remained another major focus. Following the talks, India handed over a list of 84 post-earthquake reconstruction projects completed in Nepal with Indian assistance, including 72 health sector projects and 12 cultural heritage projects. Both countries also welcomed the completion of internal procedures for enforcing the Mutual Legal Assistance Agreement, which will support cooperation in tackling cross-border crimes. The visit also addressed unresolved issues, with Minister Khanal reiterating Nepal's commitment to resolving border matters through dialogue and diplomatic channels. While challenges remain, the visit highlighted a shared effort to strengthen cooperation across a wide range of sectors and further expand the Nepal-India partnership.
Nepal-India relations continue to see both strong cooperation and ongoing sensitivities over long-standing boundary issues. The Indian side has also presented Nepal as its important partner and expressed its commitment to expand cooperation. However, sensitive issues, including the long-standing border dispute and areas such as Kalapani Lipulekh, continue to remain in focus in Nepal-India relations. Political analyst and former ambassador Lokraj Baral said that practical areas of cooperation such as cross-border power transmission lines, railways, petroleum pipelines and trade facilitation are likely to deliver immediate positive results. He added that such projects could help build trust and strengthen overall bilateral ties despite unresolved political issues.
राम्रै होला जस्तो लाग्छ यो विकासमा फोकस गरेको हुनाले इन्डियालाई पनि टाउको दुख्दैन अनावश्यक कुरा बोर्डरको कुरा उठाइदियो सुरक्षाको कुरा उठाइदियो लिम्पिया धुरासम्म हाम्रो हो भन्न थाल्यो भने चाहिँ फेरि टाउको दुख्ने कुरा आउँछ त्यो सम्भव पनि छैन अहिले
And that wraps up our Issue of the Day segment. Coming up next, marking the World Food Safety Day, Nepal has renewed its focus on protecting consumers through strong food safety and hygiene measures. More of this in our cover story segment after the short break. Welcome back. You're watching NTV World News Hour. And now on to our cover story segment. Food safety is often overlooked until contaminated food triggers illness or tragedy. As the world marks World Food Safety Day, concerns are growing over the heavy toll of foodborne diseases, particularly among children. While Nepal's newly established Ministry of Health and Food Safety signals a greater focus on protecting consumers. Here's a report.
This year's World Food Safety Day is observed under the theme From Burden to Solutions, Safe Food Everywhere. The campaign, held annually on June 7, highlights a global health challenge that continues to affect millions of people every year through contaminated food, unsafe handling practices, and exposure to harmful chemicals. According to the World Health Organization, unsafe food causes an estimated 866 million illnesses and 1.5 million deaths annually worldwide. While the burden has declined over the past 2 decades, foodborne diseases remain a major public health concern, particularly in developing regions. Children are among the most vulnerable. Although children under the age of 5 makes up only a small share of the global population, they account for nearly 1/3 of foodborne diseases cases. Many suffer from severe diarrheal illnesses linked to contaminated food and water, while exposure to toxic substances such as lead and methyl mercury can have long-term impacts on neurological development. The WHO says biological hazards, including bacteria, viruses, and parasites, remain the leading causes of foodborne illnesses, while chemical contamination is responsible for the majority of related deaths. In Nepal, food safety has gained greater policy attention with the formation of the Ministry of Health and Food Safety, the first government ministry to explicitly include food safety within its mandate. Health and Food Safety Minister Nisha Mehta has said foodborne diseases continue to pose a serious public health challenge, underscoring the need for stronger monitoring, public awareness, and improved standards across the food supply chain. The WHO is urging government worldwide to strengthen food safety systems, improve sanitation and hygiene, and adopt evidence-based policies to reduce preventable illnesses and deaths. As global food systems become increasingly interconnected, experts say ensuring safe food is not only a health priority, but also essential for economic development and public trust.
Nepal's Minister for Health and Food Hygiene, Nisha Mehta, has reaffirmed the government's commitment to strengthening food safety systems in order to address the growing burden of foodborne diseases. Speaking on the occasion of World Food Safety Day, she stressed that ensuring hygienic food practices from production to consumption is a key responsibility of the state. The minister urged the adoption of good agricultural practices, proper manufacturing standards, and safe storage systems to improve overall food quality and public health outcomes. She also said that the government is prioritizing health sector reforms under its ongoing 100-day governance reform plan, which is currently in its final phase of implementation.
हजुरहरुको हरेक पोइन्ट्स हजुरहरुको जति पनि गुनासाहरू छ हजुरहरुको फिडब्याकहरू छ हजुरहरुको एडभाइसहरू छ सबै हाम्रो सचिवज्यूले सचिवालयज्यूले सबैले नोट गर्नुभएको छ मजाले हैन त्यसले हामीले पोजिटिभली लिएको छौं सुधारको कुराहरू धेरै आएको छ हाम्रो कमी कमजोरीहरू हाम्रो स्ट्रेन्थहरू के छ हामी सबैले बुझेको छौं र यसलाई चाहिँ आत्मसात गर्दै हामी पक्कै पनि अगाडि बढ्ने छौं यति नै भन्न चाहे आज
And that was our cover story of the day. Now we move on to other updates. Nepal's provincial governments are preparing their upcoming fiscal year budgets with a focus on strengthening key development sectors, improving public services, and addressing local economic pressures. In this context, the Koshi provincial government in eastern Nepal has begun preparations for its upcoming fiscal year budget, prioritizing key sectors such as health, education, agriculture, tourism, and infrastructure development. Officials in Biratnagar said the provincial administration is also considering relief measures for lower middle-class families and landless quarters, following concerns over recent federal tax and fee increases. Provincial Minister for Economic Affairs and Planning, Bidur Kumar Lingthep, stated that the government aims to address public concerns while boosting investment in productive sectors.
Economists have suggested that greater emphasis on tourism and employment-generating projects could help strengthen the province's internal revenue base. The provincial budget for the next fiscal year is expected to be around 38 billion rupees, slightly higher than the current allocation due to increased revenue and federal transfers. In this context, we have asked the people of Morang what the provincial government's budget should prioritize. Let's see what they had to say in today's Public Pulse.
कृषि क्षेत्र, पर्यटन क्षेत्र लगायतका क्षेत्रलाई लिएर पर्यटन सहितको विकास सहित अलिकति चाहिँ रोजगारी वृद्धि गर्ने खालको कार्यक्रमहरू ल्याउनु पर्छ।
पर्यटन प्रवर्धन गरेर चाहिँ अधिकतम चाहिँ लाभ लिने गरी प्रदेश सरकारहरू बलियो हुने गरी संरचना बलियो हुने गरी चाहिँ एउटा बजेट ल्याउनु पर्छ।
विभिन्न मदहरुमा जुन अहिले ट्याक्सहरू लगाएको छ जस्तो अब भ्याट, बिजुलीमा भ्याट, तपाईको स्वास्थ्यमा भ्याट, त्यसले गर्दाखेरि के छ भने मान्छेको आम जनताको चाहिँ क्रय शक्ति घटेर यहाँको व्यवसाय जुन छ निकट भविष्यमा हामीले चाहिँ त्यति राम्रो हुन्छ भन्ने जस्तो मलाई लाग्दैन।
बजेट बनाउँदाखेरि पर्यटन क्षेत्रलाई बढी फोकस गर्नुपर्छ। जस्तै पाथिबारा मन्दिर छ, तपाईको भेरेटार छ, यहाँको होटल व्यवसायहरू छ, यसलाई अलिकति सुरक्षित स्थानमा राखेर र अलिकति व्यवस्थित रूपमा यसलाई सञ्चालन गरेर भारतीय पर्यटकहरूलाई नेपाल भित्रायो भने यहाँको स्थानीयहरूलाई रोजगारको पनि सृजना हुन्छ।
टुरिस्ट हब भन्छ के एउटा, जस्तो पोखरा हब भएपछि मान्छे त्यहाँबाट ट्रेकिङ लगायतको ठाउँ जान्छन्, उनीहरू हिल साइड जान्छन्। हो त्यस्तो खालको हब चाहिँ हाम्रो कुनै पनि हुन सकेको छैन। बिरानलाई हब मान्न सकिरहेको छैन हामी। एउटा एयरपोर्ट छ, अरू अब बोर्डर भए तापनि हब मान्न सकिरहेको छैन हामीले।
The government and the private sector assured consumers during the third week of May that there would be no shortage of sugar and that prices would remain stable. However, with no fresh imports following India's restrictions on sugar exports, market prices have increased, forcing consumers to pay more for the commodity. Sabika Shrestha brings more.
In the third week of May, Nepal's government and private sector representatives claimed there was no shortage in the market and that prices would remain stable. However, that assurance proved short-lived. Sugar prices have been found to have risen by as much as 10% during market monitoring. Sugar that was available at 100 rupee per kilogram a few weeks ago is now being sold at 110 rupees per kilogram. Traders who had already raised the retail price to 105 rupees per kilogram before the annual budget speech on May 29 further increased the price to 110 rupees per kilogram after the budget announcement. Likewise, the wholesale price, which was 94 rupees per kilogram before the budget, has increased to 102 rupees per kilogram. Traders say they had to raise retail prices because wholesale prices had already gone up.
94 माइनस 103 गर्दाखेरि त 9 रुपैयाँ त हजुरको यतिकै बढ्या छ त अहिले चिनी 9 रुपैयाँ बढ्दाखेरि 104 गर्दाखेरि त 7 8 10 सम्म पुग्नु भनेको अस्वाभाविक कुरो होइन। यो चाहिँ नै चलेको कुरा हो। ल 4 103 परेछ भने 6 7 सम्म चाहिँ नै हामीले सेल गर्न सक्छौं के। तर कुरो के हुन्छ भने आम उपभोक्ताहरूलाई 100 मा किनेको चिनी 110 तिर्दाखेरि 10 रुपैयाँ खल्तीबाट रित्यो के रित्येन, उनको तलबाट रित्यो कि रित्येन, कम भयो कि भएन। हो यो कुरो चाहिँ बुझ्नुपर्ने कसले हो? नेपाल सरकारले, जुन कि उहाँले ट्याक्स लिनुहुन्छ, प्रत्येक जनताबाट चाहिँ ट्याक्स चाहिँ असुली गरेको हुन्छ। हामीले भोगेको कुरो पनि हो र दिएको कुरो पनि हो।
Consumers also complained that prices have been increased despite sufficient stock being available in the market. They alleged that even old stock is being sold at new price and that ineffective government market monitoring has allowed traders to act arbitrarily.
चिनी सबै थोक महँगो भइरहेछ, हामीलाई सबै थोक धान्न अहिले धेरै गाह्रो भइरहेछ। अब बढाउँदिन के अरे उ गर्दिन चाहिँ अब नदिने चाहिँ भनेको सुनेको हो हैन, तर अब बढाउनु चाहिँ यहीँको सामान पनि यहीँ राखेर पनि अब मान्छेहरूले बढाइराख्नु भएको छ हैन। अब त्यो चाहिँ नबढाउनु पर्ने हो। अब सरकारले अब जति जे जस्तो गरेर भए पनि उताबाट निकासा गरेर ल्याएर अब हामीलाई यहीँको सामान यहीँको बढाउँदा चाहिँ हामीलाई अलिकति गुनासो लागिरहेको छ।
अर्काको भरमा बढ्दैन भनेर बस्न नहुने रहेछ, बढाएरै ल्याउँदो रहेछ।
India imposed a ban on sugar exports from the mid-May until September in order to maintain balance in its domestic market. Since then, no new sugar has been imported from India. Despite sufficient market stocks and domestic production, sugar prices have continued to rise. Local industries produced around 190,000 tons of sugar this year, but consumers are still facing higher prices. The increase has sparked concern among buyers who are urging the authorities to intervene and bring prices under control. Sabika Shrestha with camera person Ram Thapa reporting for NTV World.
The Embassy of Nepal in Bangkok has issued an urgent alert for Nepali citizens living illegally in Cambodia. The mission says 66 Nepalis who overstayed their visas have not responded to repeated contact, despite Cambodia previously waiving their fines to allow a safe return. Under Cambodia's new immigration law, visa overstayers now face penalties of up to $500,000 and possible life imprisonment. The embassy is urging all affected citizens plus their families in Nepal to arrange travel and return home before June 12, 2026. Officials warn that anyone remaining in Cambodia without legal status risk immediate arrest and harsh punishment under the new law. Farmers in Nepal's remote Ruby Valley, located in northern Thading district near the border area, are facing heavy losses as thousands of tons of potatoes and other crops remain stranded due to poor road access. Despite strong market demand for their produce, inadequate transportation infrastructure prevents goods from reaching buyers on time. Local residents say a significant share of agricultural products is wasted each year because of high transport costs and logistical challenges. Farmers also report limited support and coordination from local authorities in connecting them with larger markets. The situation highlights the ongoing infrastructure challenges facing many rural farming communities in Nepal, where access to markets remains a major obstacle to agricultural growth. Residents of rural communities in Nepal's Syangja district are facing growing safety concerns as increasing monkey attacks have left 6 people injured within a single week. The incidents reported in several areas of Kalyang municipality have affected residents ranging from young children to elderly citizens, forcing villagers to travel and work in groups out of fear. Local farmers say expanding monkey populations combined with rural migration and overgrown vegetation have made it easier for wild animals to enter human settlements and damage the crops. Authorities from the local forest office say they are taking the issue seriously and are exploring legal measures for relief and long-term management of human-wildlife conflict. The situation highlights a broader challenge in Nepal's hill regions, where wildlife encroachment and population decline are increasingly threatening rural livelihoods and agricultural communities. The traditional craft of weaving Bhangra cloth from Himalayan nettle is steadily disappearing among the Thami community in Dolakha district of Bagmati province as younger generations move away from the practice and modern clothing becomes more widely available. Once an important part of Thami cultural identity and religious rituals, the hand-woven fabric has seen a sharp decline owing to the loss of traditional skills passed down through generations. In response, youths from the Thami community, particularly in Suspa Shamawati, have begun efforts to preserve the indigenous craft and its unique production process. According to the 2021 census, Dolakha is home to 18,075 Thami residents living across 11 settlements in 2 local units. Community leaders say the aloe plant, whose fiber is used to make Bhangra and traditionally grows abundantly in areas enriched by cattle and tauri manure, is also becoming increasingly scarce as livestock rearing practices decline and the plant disappears from the local forest. Before we check more updates from the international front, let's have a recap of the headlines. Nepal's foreign minister returns home concluding a 3-day official visit to India. Visit seen as effort to deepen bilateral relations. First General Convention of Nepal's ruling party underway in 28 districts. Provincial convention to be held from June 9. World Food Safety Day marked amid global health concerns. Nepal endorses commitment to stronger food hygiene systems. Europe migration debate resurfaces at D-Day event. U.S. defense chief criticizes border policies. North Korea reaffirms nuclear status ahead of high-level summit. Remarks come a day before Xi's planned visit to Pyongyang. And Nepal makes it to Asian Games qualifier final, registers 8-wicket victory over Oman. Iran's semi-official Fars news agency has rejected a report by Saudi-owned Al Arabiya network that Tehran has agreed to transfer its enriched uranium to a third country. Citing an informed source close to the Iranian negotiating team, Fars said nuclear issues were basically not on the current agenda of the talks between Tehran and Washington aimed at ending the war, and would only be discussed at later stages. The denial follows an earlier report that Iran has informed Pakistan of its acceptance to transfer part of its enriched uranium to a third country. The source stressed that such a transfer is not being discussed, adding that the United States must take clear and definitive actions before final agreements on some fundamental issues can be reached. Voting is underway in Armenia in an election which could decide whether the country continues edging towards the West or returns to its traditional ally, Russia. The small South Caucasus country of 3 million people has been under mounting economic pressure from Moscow as Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan seeks re-election on a promise of European integration. The election has drawn significant international attention to Armenia, which has steadily grown closer to the West while still intertwined with Russia, which is its largest trading partner. The rapprochement with the West is largely Pashinyan's doing. Since coming to power in 2018, the Prime Minister has steered his country away from Moscow, passed a law to launch the process of joining the EU, and accelerated peace process with neighboring Azerbaijan via a US-brokered agreement. More than 1.2 million people have gathered in the streets of Madrid for a mass led by Pope Leo XIV in one of the largest public religious events in Spain in recent years. During the ceremony, the Pope called for a renewal of Catholic faith across the country, urging believers to strengthen their spiritual commitment amid modern social change. In his homily, Pope Leo said Spaniards should not view religion as a museum of the past to be visited, but as a school of faith from which to draw even today, emphasizing the continuing relevance of church in contemporary life. The large-scale gathering highlighted both the enduring influence of Catholicism in Spain and the Vatican's renewed efforts to engage with the younger generations. Police clashed with anti-government protesters in eastern Bolivia during an operation to remove a roadblock in the Santa Cruz region amid escalating nationwide unrest. According to government officials, protesters used firearms during the confrontation, injuring 2 police officers in the exchange. The incident forms part of a broader wave of instability, with authorities reporting nearly 100 roadblocks across the country as Bolivia enters its second consecutive month of political and social unrest. Security forces have intensified efforts to reopen key transport routes, while tensions remain high in several regions affected by the ongoing demonstrations and disruptions. A short breather for now, and when we come back, we will have updates from the business area. The Strait of Hormuz remains effectively choked off as the United States-Israel war against Iran entered its 100th day on Sunday. Iran has been restricting traffic in the Strait of Hormuz following the joint U.S.-Israeli strikes that began on February 28. The United States imposed a naval blockade on Iranian ports in the strait on April 13, targeting vessels traveling to or from Iran. Commercial traffic in the Strait of Hormuz, once one of the world's busiest energy waterways, has since slowed to just a fraction of its pre-war levels. A fragile ceasefire between the United States and Iran has been in place since April, but it is currently under severe strain following a recent exchange of military strikes. India has introduced E85 Flex Fuel, a new alternative fuel aimed at reducing emissions, lowering fuel cost, and strengthening the country's energy self-reliance. Petroleum and Natural Gas Minister Hardeep Singh Puri launched E85 Flex Fuel, marking a significant step in India's ethanol blending and clean energy program. The fuel is expected to provide consumers with a cleaner and potentially more affordable alternative to conventional petrol. E85 Flex Fuel is also seen as supporting India's broader goals of reducing carbon emissions, enhancing energy security, and promoting self-reliance. OpenAI is planning its biggest ChatGPT overhaul yet, aiming to turn it into a super app with coding tools and AI agents to boost revenue ahead of a potential stock market listing. The changes are part of a broader reorganization at OpenAI as it shifts resources to target lucrative enterprise clients and intensify competition with rival Anthropic, according to the report, citing more than a dozen current and former employees. It is said the overhaul will give greater prominence and resources to OpenAI's coding product Codex and is set to roll out in the coming weeks, initially appearing as updates to ChatGPT's website and mobile apps. Now the sports updates. Teenager Mira Andreeva won her first Grand Slam title as Polish qualifier Maja Walinska was denied a fairy-tale French Open victory. Russian 8th seed Andreeva is the youngest woman to win the Roland Garros title since Monica Seles in 1992. 19-year-old Andreeva fulfilled the potential she has long shown with a 6-3, 6-2 victory over an opponent who was a 501 outsider before the tournament. After securing victory in 1 hour and 22 minutes, Andreeva fell to the court in elation before quickly running up to the stands for a warm embrace with her coach Conchita Martinez, herself a former major champion after winning Wimbledon in 1994. Andreeva overcame a tense start, where nerves and a swirling wind led to the final starting with 4 successive breaks of serve. Iran has accused the U.S. of denying visas to integral members of its national football team's backroom staff, hours after Washington confirmed Iranian players had been given permission to travel to the upcoming World Cup. US officials said visas had been issued to all players and necessary support staff on Friday, 10 days before Iran's opening fixture in Los Angeles on June 15. They also said Iran would not be allowed to abuse the system to sneak terrorists into the United States under false pretenses. Iran's embassy in Turkey accused the US of politically biased interference in sport by denying visas to a large portion of the managerial and executive staff as well as technical advisors. Iranian state-linked media said 15 administration officials, including the head of the Football Federation, his deputy, and a media director, were among those who were denied entry to the US. The team set off from the training base in Turkey on Saturday en route to Mexico, where they will be based for the tournament, and are expected to land in the early hours of Sunday after a 20-hour flight. Now the weather updates, first from Nepal and then from across the world. And before we wrap up, here's a reminder of our top stories. Nepal's foreign minister returns home, concluding a 3-day official visit to India. Visit seen as effort to deepen bilateral relations. First General Convention of Nepal's ruling party underway in 28 districts. Provincial convention to be held from June 9. World Food Safety Day marked amid global health concerns. Nepal endorses commitment to stronger food hygiene systems. Europe migration debate resurfaces at D-Day event. US defense chief criticizes border policies. North Korea reaffirms nuclear status ahead of high-level summit. Remarks come a day before Xi's planned visit to Pyongyang. And Nepal makes it to Asian Games qualifier final, registers 8-wicket victory over Oman. This is it for this edition of NTV World News Hour. Meanwhile, do join us for our social media and get the latest updates from our official website at nepaltelevision.com. Thank you for joining us. Good night.